Hello everyone, hopefully you're doing alright. It's time for another tech talk, and today is the last day of the event. So we're going to be doing the event while also doing the tech talk. So it's naval and aviation time, and then we'll have a look at the ground, see if we can do that kind of at the same time. But it's a little bit harder to do. It's a little bit harder to go for. Hey, Tugnuts, nice to see you, man. So we're gonna go through the questions and everything. If you guys don't know how this works, I might just make this slightly smaller. Does that still work actually? Does it cut it off? No, I think it's good. Just so, everything runs in the background. But if you don't know how this works, basically we go through all the comments on the previous tech talk. So if you have something you want talked about, then put it in the comments of this video, and then we'll kind of go through it and talk about it. Now that we're in update season, coming to the end of the event season, it's a little bit more chill, so a little bit more of a reminder that going into update season is pretty fun. It should be going for like a few weeks now, and then we can kind of go from there and have a decent time. So yeah, I mean, why not? Why not enjoy everything? Why not have a decent amount of time and then kind of go from there? So let's do this. It's SKR7 today, basically because it's a bit easier to play while doing stuff, and also I need to get the naval challenge done. So there we go. Let's just kind of relax. The first part is obviously good old Taki-chan with the fantastic timestamps from previously. Thank you as always, Taki, for sorting this out, and also just having just a really nice thing to do, as I said, and definitely worth pointing out every time. Always nice when people do stuff like this. So thank you very much for doing that, basically. The first one is a long one, which is how it usually starts. Hey there, Tech. I appreciate these tech talks a ton, as they're perfect for listening to in the background while at work, and are packed with useful info that takes dozens of videos to obtain otherwise. I mean, that's true, yeah. Like, some of the things we talk about is so, like, random, like, when it comes to War Thunder, but yeah, I agree that, it's... it's nice to kind of get it all in one place, like to chat about. My question idea is on the topic of removed past event vehicles and bringing them back into the trees for everyone. I think it's an idea for this would be to allow players to use the convertible research points to research these vehicles, similarly to how you would research a squadron vehicle, since the number of tech trees would benefit from these additions. It could act also as a middle ground of sorts for those who want to add in research vehicles to every tier. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on if this could work, and would you tweak it, or if it's DOA. I appreciate all the hard work. Keep it up. Thank you. I'm completely fine with the idea. I actually made a video like a month ago, pretty much going through these ideas. Kind of going through the ideas at the same time. Like the simple fact that the convertible RP right now, like this stuff up here, like I have 190 million of the stuff, and the idea is you use it for GE, right? Nice to see you, Abby. Nice to see you too, Jaylich. But for me, I wish it was used for something different, because even though it's nice to have a system so people can't just GE their way through trees, technically they can, because you can get convertible RP for completing like rows on vehicles, so you can actually just GE everything through, which just kind of sucks. So for me, I'd like to see something different. I would personally do what you're saying. Just bring back old vehicles and just call them something different, like I don't know, historic vehicles, or archaic or vintage, vintage vehicles, and it can just be all the ones that they've removed, and then you just instead use this RP to get access to them. Now, one of the things that may stop this from happening, even though I do agree with the idea, is the simple fact that I remember back in the day, one of the things that I asked when it came to like the content partnership program stuff, right? Because technically, depending on what level you are or whatever, you can technically like request anything. But I remember asking them about stuff like the year 2 TAT and stuff like that, kind of show vehicles which were, because I wanted to do some vehicle videos around vehicles that had been removed, and I have a decent amount of them, but I don't have all of them. Like, I'm missing an SB2M or just an SB2. I'm missing the year 2s that they removed, and also there's like a premium that I'm missing that I can't remember its name. So for me, like when it came down to it, I wanted to make the video, and I asked about it, and they said, well, because they're so old, they're actually they're coded differently to the new stuff, and they haven't ever been updated. So they're kind of in this like weird doldrums area as vehicles, where basically they're never really going to like work properly with like the systems that they had. Now obviously they can update the systems, and they have updated a metric ton of systems in the past to do with these things, so I think it could be done. It might just be a lot of effort for something that doesn't really give a lot of rewards, right? Well, yeah, even like the Churchill ship, yeah, like stuff like that. But yeah, I would be fine with a system like that. The only thing about the reserve vehicle bit is I'm not a huge fan of the reserve vehicle thing. We've talked about it previously because it was one of the main thrusts that some of the guys put up when talking about when talking about how to fix the economy stuff. You know, the idea of having a research vehicle at every a reserve vehicle at every rank in the game. Well, that sounds really good if you completely forget that botting exists. And botting is one of those things to deal with, which is reactive instead of, you know, proactive most of the time. So what you would have is you've just given a vehicle at every single rank that people can use that they would never actually lose SL in. Now instead what they've done is they've forced the guys to buy premium account, which, you know, is... They're basically just monetized botting in a way, but it's still a better way of doing it instead of just making sure that all of these things are like, you know, all over the place. So for me, I think that idea is not good, but the other idea of like bringing them back for convertible RP or whatever, I'm pretty happy with. So then we have Cat Top. Oh, we just need to shoot this guy since he's in our spawn. Very rude of him. There we go. So it says, suppose a naval PvE mode is added into the game. What do you think the gameplay will be like? Will it follow ground and air in terms of gameplay, or helicopters, or will it be more unique? So pretty much every... Think about any game in existence, right? Think about any game in existence when it comes to PvE content, especially when it comes to naval stuff. Like, there are some outliers, but most of them pretty much are set up in exactly the same way, depending on what vehicles you're kind of using. So, it'll be like convoy missions, like destroying the convoy, protecting the convoy. It'll be stuff like, you know, attacking defensive, like, defensive armaments, like, around general, like, areas and stuff like that. And then also, it'll be stuff such as... you know, either attacking an objective or defending an objective, because those are like the easiest ways and the most simplest ways of doing it, and everything will be on rails, just like the PvE assault stuff. I don't think it would be any different from what we've already seen when it comes to the PvE stuff in War Thunder. I think it would just be a continuation of it. Like, the most you're gonna get is something that you see in like helicopter PvE, which is where you're gonna have you know, you're gonna have stuff which kind of spawns every so often, so moving targets instead of like stationary ones. So I would be very surprised if it was anything like super sophisticated, because like at the end of the day, stuff like that takes a lot of development time, and also you're talking about a minority of people using it. And also at the same time, stuff like this gets broken real quick, and by broken I mean like people find ways around it and just completely break how the game is supposed to work. And that's what happened with old stuff, like what happened with, if you remember, we used to have convoy missions, and we also used to have like this kind of objective based stuff in Naval, and people just figured out exactly where the convoys were going and just torpedoed them over and over and over again, right? And they even do it now with the stationary convoys on some of the missions where you have to defend them. Like stuff like the Japanese torpedo launchers. You would just sit from 20k away, turn up, torp the convoy, and then go home. Like, there's nothing else you have to do or can do. And that's kind of just how it went for like the longest time. And that is not very fun to play. It's not very fun to be part of, because you're basically, as I said, you're just on rails. Like, you're just going ahead and playing like the same stuff over and over again. We're playing live, I took notes, because I have to do the event, so otherwise I'm not able to get everything done. So yeah, for me, I think they will eventually do it, because as we've talked about, like, it is kind of the way that many of these things are going. Like, they're going way towards PvE instead of PvE. But I also think that in general, it's not something that's, you know, gonna take over the game or anything. It will just be like an extra thing on top of it. Let's see. So then we have Slabushki. So, not gonna lie, thanks for this. Put this on while pulling an all-nighter to do a psychology essay. Really helped me to stay awake and get things done. Oh, bloody psychology. Thank God I never did any of those classes in university. With the way that university works in Canada is you have to take like your standard courses to complete a degree, and then you take options or electives, which are supposed to be outside of the realm of your degree, because for some reason in North America they've decided that like degrees don't actually have to be the majority of the thing. Like the thing you learn in the degrees, it isn't supposed to be the majority thing you actually learn. So like while doing like my chemistry and also physics degrees, I ended up doing classes on like French, doing classes on architecture, doing classes on Univ, which is literally courses to learn how to like write, and then also other ones such as like sustainability by design, which actually ended up helping me out in my actual job stuff, but at the same time has like nothing to do like with my degree. It's so weird how that's the case. But yeah, thank God I didn't take any of those. I did actually get a bunch of psychology books and read them though, because there was this like table which they'd put outside of the bookstore, and people would just kind of like leave their old textbooks there if anybody wanted them. So at the start of the semester, I would always go there and pick up like, you know, 3 or 4 books. I learned a lot of random information, because, you know, a lot of the time I was just doing the uni stuff, and, you know, I was focusing on my own things. But I think in a way it's good to have a broad sense of information and knowledge, but also it shouldn't have to be forced to do it. It should be down to the individual to be able to learn it. So, yeah. And we have Cinnamon Bread Bun. Greetings, Tech. Thanks for taking your time and answering the questions on the last Tech Talk vids. Anytime. That's why we're here. For my question is, when? For my question is, when do you think Gaijin will start adding late World War II battleships? Heavy cruisers and their premium counterparts for certain nations into the game. Seeing that EC Naval is already a thing already, do you think they will add these ships in the near future? Well, technically we already have them, just not in the ways that, you know, people talk about. Hey boss, nice to see you. I think you're meaning like the Yamato, the Bismarck, you know, the King George or whatever it's called. Like you're talking about those, the big bruisers, right? Because technically in game we have a bunch of what would be classed as World War II battleships, because they're the refits of the old ones. And even like if you think about like the Alaska being the battle cruiser, you have the Maria, the Patricia, whatever it is, that's like a World War II refit. The Texas that's coming in, that's like a late war refit of that. But yeah, the big bruisers of the game, like stuff like the Yamato, stuff like the Bismarck, which technically are early war, like the Bismarck, when was it sunk? 1942, I think? Yeah, then you got the Fuso and the Isa or the Ice or whatever, like they're also late war vehicles. So technically we already have them, but if you mean like stuff like, you know, the Tirpitz, the Iowa, you know, the Bismarck, you know, stuff like that, I honestly think it's going to be a few years, because once you've added those things in, you don't really have a lot to go to. Like, and that's why even if stuff is like ready years in advance, like we saw like the Tirpitz like years ago, It was sunk in 41, so it's technically early war, right? So the thing about it is once you add them, then there's nothing to really like look forward to for people. Like, well, you're just gonna add a bunch of like missile destroyers that nobody knows. Like it's in terms of like marketing and in terms of, you know, just general interest when it comes to the game. If you decide that you're going to just add them all in and just go crazy all at the same time, then what is there for people to look forward to and what is there for people to look at? Instead, what they'll do is they'll do what they always do, which is they'll drip feed them across the board. And once they drip feed them, what this means is, you know, people will end up playing, you know, certain ones each update, and then they'll just move around the different ones. We'll probably get like a Italian one first, and then you'll get a French one if it exists, like the Dunkirk, which once again is early war. And then you'll get like a British one, and then you get a Russian one, even though we technically already have them. And then you'll get an American one, and then you'll eventually get a German one because those are the most popular. So it isn't the fact that, you know, there's gonna that you know they're not ready to go or they're not gonna do anything. It's literally just like a marketing thing. Like when they might have everything ready to go. We know that they were working on the Yamato like a few years ago. We know that they were doing all of these different things like a few years ago, and now they'll be ready to go. Because they said on average it takes them about 6 months to be able to create a vehicle. So from, you know, from nothing to everything, the vehicle takes 6 months. Now this will take longer with ships because obviously, you know, obviously they will take a little bit more time because of the cost of building them, because they're a lot bigger models and all of that, but still, like actually implementing them wouldn't take too long since all of the things are already there. So for me, when I think about that stuff, it's not whether they'll be ready or not, it'll be just drip feeding because of marketing. And because if you add those, that's it, right? Like that's, you got nothing else. Like you just don't have anything. Like you have just random Cold War vehicle number 5. And as we've seen with the Cold War vehicles, because we have a lot of Cold War vehicles in the game, in Naval. Like I'm literally using one right now, right? And then also there's a ton of them that you wouldn't think of, like the Orla or things like that. And I get constant like questions from people like, oh, when are they gonna add, you know, more modern ships? When are they gonna add, you know, ships from, you know, the modern era? And it's like, well, they already are. You just don't know about them, like because they're not. No, like when you ask people, okay, like name a modern ship. Well, I don't know. Like everybody knows the planes because the planes are super dominant nowadays, right? But when it comes to like modern like naval stuff, you're talking about a very, very specific set of people who know about that, and that's really about it. So once they've added the big guns, you know, there's not really a lot to go on. So yeah, it's the same with like aviation. Once they add in like that highest tier, where do they go from there? Like how do they change the strategy of what's going to happen to the game? What do they keep adding? Like how do they keep people interested? Same as Naval, you know. So then we have Dumb Idiot 2899. It's quite a lot of dumb idiots. Truly praying for major updates to air sim, an AWACS to come in and mark enemies on radar, or a tanker to come in every so often for fuel would add so much variation to the gameplay. So, I mean, the AWACS point, I don't really have too many thoughts on, if I'm honest with you. You know, that's just kind of how it is. I think adding more automated systems into the game, generally, especially on that way, is probably just going to annoy more people, because now they have to play around more stuff that they don't think about or don't know about, which is obviously not great for them. The other thing at the end of the day too is the refueling thing. I know people want it because once again it's something that people do in history, and because it's something that people do in history, we want to add it to the game, right? Because, you know, War Thunder is realistic, haha, historical, blah blah blah. But the problem with it is if you have a refueling plane going around, you've literally just put a massive target on people's head who want to go for it. And this is something that has to be remembered, right? So in Air Realistic, and I know it's a different game mode, yada yada. In Air Realistic, back in the day, you used to have 3 planes that were like AI on some maps, and they would basically just go around, right? They would just go around like the center of the battlefield. So nowadays in Air Realistic, you have 2 sets of ground attackers, right? That go around. But back in the day, these guys never attacked the ground, they just did recon. That's it. So if anybody ever went near them, it spotted them on the map. So these these things, and also the AI at the start of the battle in Air Realistic, pretty much dictated where people would fight, because certain members of one team would go after them, and then that means that the enemy team would set up to kill them, and then so on and so forth. So if you add like multiple parts or multiple factors like to something, it just concentrates the fight, which in general some people might enjoy, and that's good. But also, it means if anybody wants to actually use the mechanic, like actually refuel while they're in the air, which does take a while, by the way. It's not something that just, you know, happens straight away. Especially if you're in Sim, where you want everything to be realistic. Then you're just going to get nuked by somebody who's just, like, chilling over there, right? So for me, like, even though it's one of the, it's like carriers, right? Like the aircraft carriers. They look really nice. You know, it's really cool to see them, because it's nice to see, you know, modern, really high definition, beautiful things. How useful are they? Pretty much as useful as a punch in the face. Sometimes in very limited, you know, situations, very useful. Vast majority of the time, completely worthless, right? So then we have Paul O'Grech, or Gretch, or Paul Gretch. I wonder if it's K or C or Ch. Interesting. Hey Tech! Thank you and your supporting community for the information and game data. Anytime. That's why we're here. A little bit of fun and having a good time with it. Thank God this event's over as well, so we can just chill and focus on like page of history stuff and things like that. We're starting to see more specialized vehicles into the game, such as the Santel, the Baduka, and the tow boxes, as you affectionately call them. And many more specialized vehicles on the way. While these vehicles are not limited to their roles, the recent missile changes have greatly affected the ease of use of many of these vehicles. Very true. There are mechanics such as scouting, scout drones, friendly repair, fighting, and artillery that have been added to assist with contributing to team play with many of these vehicles. What other mechanics could or should be added to the game, specifically to these vehicles that are more specialized to their role than a light tank or an MBT? So like with ATGM carriers, right? So, I mean, there's a few things that you can add. We talked about for heavy tanks specifically, like one of the points that was brought up was either an automatic crew replenishment like Arcade, or like a 2 crew replenishment. But for stuff like ATGMs, the specialized thing in real life is literally just to be used more as like a defensive tool, right? So to sit in a place, see like enemies moving around the place, and then attack, and so the enemies can't push through. Like that's like their idea. That's what they're supposed to be good at, right? Like either hitting stationary targets or going after things when you are in a setup position. So if we want to use that as a basis, because that idea doesn't really work in War Thunder, if you think about it. So if we want to use that as a basis, the way that we have to do it is we have to give them some kind of bonus if they are stationary. Now, there are a few things that you can give as a bonus. One of the things is you could give them increased keen vision, or lower visibility percentage, so they're harder to see or harder to scout in certain areas. So you could screw with those. That could work. You could also, at the same time, you could talk from a point of view where maybe they get access to the squadron marking thing if they're stationary, but instead of just for your squadron, it's available for everybody. Like that could also be an option, as something that could be done. You could also set up a system where they can like scout planes if they're stationary, or even if they're on the move, because those are like the biggest, I suppose, adversary of things like that, because you can't really do anything against them, or maybe scouting helicopters or something. Like those are the things that come to mind when I think about the machines, and if they're being used in the correct way, how to give them bonuses in order to, you know, continue to work in the way they're supposed to. That's pretty much what I would go for personally, and I think would be the way, you know, to go. Maybe the ability to build small bits of cover. Oh yeah, that could work as well. Like, yeah, Men of War style, like maybe some sandbags or something. Like, you know, maybe it takes like 5, or maybe it takes like, or maybe it takes like 30 seconds or something, but if you're stationary for that long, you can like put like sand in front of you. Kind of like how they did Thingamadoohickle. Kind of like the way that they did, oh, what's the word? They did the trenching yourself, but instead it would be more automatic. I like that idea. Like, that could work. And also it'd be a barrier that could be like destroyed pretty quick too. So then we have, let's see. We have Jagdpanzer Yo 5 UK. Hey Tech, I've been pondering of a way to make a player who grinds through a tech tree with a single premium a tank. My suggestion is to give it an extra spawn until you unlock the rank where it's located at. What do you think? Also love the vids and streams. Much love. Anytime. Let's see. I'll just write down something. Then we had... There we go. So the idea would be trying to promote people grinding through the tech trees, or if they are grinding through the tech trees with like one vehicle, how to make it easier for that individual. I think the way you do it is straight up like what we've seen in the past, right? Like the way that you set these things up is the way that they've just announced that they're doing it, which is the backups. So you just give a metric ton of backups to the... You give a metric ton of backups to the premium vehicles. So if people die, then they can respawn back again. The way I would tackle it is a bit more aggressive, you know. Hey Greenlandic, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good today. Let's see. I would probably, like, the way that I've always said to tackle these things is you're not allowed to use a premium vehicle unless you have either one of the vehicles below its ranks. Like, if, let's say you have a rank 5 premium, like, you're not allowed to use it until you have, let's say, a rank 4 vehicle, right? Or you have a setup where, you know, you're not allowed to use it unless you have a rank 5 vehicle. That's how I would do it. But at the same time, you know, I understand most people would not really be happy with that, just just as a thing, because it super limits like the amount of choice that they have. The way to actually fix it is also just not sell these vehicles to people. But yeah, that's obviously not going to happen either, because, well, we're already in that state, so you can't really improve it. I would generally say just more backups, or maybe like you can buy like a bundle of vehicles, so you can buy 2 together to make it a bit easier. Kind of like how they do in like War Thunder Mobile. So if you don't know how War Thunder Mobile works, because I saw some posts about War Thunder Mobile, and they were talking about its monetization, and it was like, how is it like $80 or $60 for a Panther? This is crazy. It's because you're technically buying a bundle of vehicles. You're not buying one vehicle. You're buying 4. So that means that you can use all of them in a battle. You spawn in the battle with the bundle of vehicles, right? And that basically means that you can use any of them in the battle. You don't. That is like your lineup in a way. So that's what you purchase. And I was thinking, when it comes to War Thunder, you could probably do something similar. So kind of like the starter pack idea, but just expanded to different tiers. So, like, you, instead of just getting one vehicle, like one premium, you could also get another, like, premium with it, and then maybe another premium as well. Because the idea the ideas of the setups is so you have multiple vehicles to use at the same time. So that to me would be the way to go. Obviously, at the same time, it's not something that I feel like I would actually like, because I don't want to promote people like not grinding the tech tree and just doing that. But if it solves the issue that is there, then it's good, right? Which of the fake league lists was your favorite? Some were really interesting, but just unnecessary. I mean, the last one with like all the Korean vehicles was pretty fun. Like, you know, the one from a few days ago, like like the F-15A, and then a bunch of like other vehicles in it. That one was at least interesting, because it meant that for me, I could actually read like or learn about a few vehicles that I didn't know about, like that S31 or whatever it is, or the S32. Like stuff like that's always enjoyable to me to read about. So yeah, I'd probably go for that one. Or there was like one last year which was just nuts, with like the amount of stuff that was supposedly in it, as just as a general thing. Right, let's just do that. Yeah, it has been enjoyable over the last few years, like covering them. But the one today, the reason why I didn't like the one today, like the Gripen one, was because it literally felt just malicious. This one, like the other ones were just like poking a little bit of fun and just having a decent time at like looking at like, you know, weird vehicles and like funny screenshots and things. But this one, like, it wasn't just the fact that it was that, once again, it was the fact that it was people just straight up lying and like putting words in other people's mouths, or saying that they were other people to actually post the things. And I've got a real issue with that, because it's just one of those things which, like, because you just bring a bunch of shit on somebody else's head, you know, like it and it's just not really fair to that person. Like, if you wanna do stuff like that, you know, put yourself in the firing line. Don't stick somebody else in like that position. Like, that's no fun for me. Then we have unique scorpions. So let's have a look. For events, especially the mech infantry, they need to make it balanced for console. Just like the Atomic Heart event, it was mostly balanced for all systems. Which is the issue for the console for those events? Is it like the movement? I mean, I could see the movement being a problem. You know, like, the movement was definitely, a problem in that event for me, just because of like desync and stuff like that. I feel like maybe for consoles, yeah, the aiming was probably an issue. I think more, instead of it being like more for like designed for consoles, I think it would be better just to once again just be more designed for everybody, right? Like set up a system which is fair for all, which means that bringing the parity, like, or using parity as like the main thing to look for in these like setups. So instead of just looking at it from a point of, okay, well, you know, we need to just kind of set it up for this. Like, instead, try and bring consoles to the same position as thingamabob, whatever it's called. Bringing it to the same position as PCs. So with access to mouse and keyboard, access to the market, access to all of these general things, access to even all the modes that exist in the game, which not all of console even has, which is just crazy when you think about it, right? Like, these things, it would be so much better if everybody had access to them, and that to me, I feel like would be a much better use of time, instead of trying to like build things around certain others, right? Well, if also the other thing about like the Gripen one, at least wait a week, man. Like, you know, You can't have like a bunch of fake leaks at the same time, because then the joke just becomes unfunny, right? Like if you have a bunch of them and like one day and then like the next day you work on a bunch of others, it's like any joke, it just gets tiring, right? Like it's better you got to spread them out a little bit. Like fuck. It's like making like the same video every day. Like it's like if I made like the Gaijin hates videos like every day. Like people get super bored with it. And that one was just low effort shit meme. Sorry. Like it was just a bad meme. So let's get to Paul D. Let's see what Paul D says. Hello, Tech. Something I saw on the Alaska map was new, and I thought it would be a good idea to mention it here, to see if you or others could give information about it. In Square D4, there were signs on two sides of the building with arrows pointing to the building. The text on the sign said World Premiere Wild West, 23rd of October to 10th of November. Yeah, I think that's been there for a while, hasn't it? Since the map's been out, I don't know if they've changed the sign or not, but I remember it being there, or a similar sign being there, because there was a bunch of like thoughts around. Ooh, I wonder if they're trying different things. I wonder if is this a hint? Because sometimes they do put like hints to things in maps, or little Easter eggs. Like the police cars making noise. The lady from Vietnam, go home, GI. Or even if you go to that new like winter map, can't remember what it's called, but if you go to the village, they're playing music, like in the village. Or even if you go to the Naval Test Drive map, there is actually an area in the Naval Test Drive map where there's a cave, and then there's like a fire, and then there's a few other things. Like there's all these like little interesting little tidbits around the maps. But I don't know whether they're like references to things or stuff that's happening, or maybe, maybe we're like overthinking these things, or maybe it might just be there for false hype, or just, screwing with people. But the main thing is it's kind of cool that Gaijin does it, right? Like it's kind of cool that that Gaijin puts these like little things in to kind of find, and it must be something that's quite enjoyable to do as a dev. Like in my work, I never really get the opportunity to put like a bit of like pizzazz on it or anything like that. But at the same time, I think it's pretty cool that like in a creative setup, you have the ability to like be like, yeah, I'm actually, I'm just gonna stick this weird funny thing over here. And it's nice to see that we see it done in video games. And I hope that they continue to do it. I hope that like that little individuality is there. Like I've always liked the idea of like Kilroy was here, just kind of hiding one on every map in the game. Like just just seeing if you could get away with it for so long. Like how much long can you or how long will it take people to find the Kilroy? And you could have like this kind of competition to see like how long people would find it and stuff. I've always found things like that like super enjoyable. But yeah, it would be nice if they. It would be nice if it actually meant something for this year, but I don't think it does. I think it's just there from last year, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, nothing too crazy. Like just a bit of fun, just a bit of screwing about. And I think they changed some of the things on Sun City, if I remember. That was something that they did more recently as an idea. So we'll have to see how that goes. Like if any of that means anything or not. I don't think it does, but yeah, it's just how it goes. Hey, Lucky Strike, nice to see you, man. Hopefully everything's good. Hopefully you're doing well. Everything's okay. Good old SKR is just kicking my ass. How the hell does it have so many rockets? Jesus. Don't remember mine having that many. Alright, then we have Ray Hill. So let's see what Ray Hill says. I have a feature idea and I want your opinion on. Sir, yes sir. Hello to you too. Good morning. Hey, we got him. Make it so, when you set a plain fuel tank on fire, the fire will get progressively smaller the less fuel that's inside it, making it easier to tell if the plane is going to get actually destroyed in the flames or you need to re-engage so that it won't get kill stolen. There could also be a slight color change from red to yellow to help with the recognition of the threat. So it would be nice to see, but not for the same reasons. I'm not really bothered. I'm not really too bothered because of like the kill steal reasons. It's more like sometimes like graphical effects are just really nice to see, like different ones. But at the same time, like, stuff can be added for different reasons, and that I feel like would be different reasons for each of us. But no, that'd be awesome. Like once again, just more things which are just closer physically to how they are in real life. The other thing they have done more recently though is they added like the darkened marks where the fire actually spreads, and then also they added the fire actually spreading more, so maybe they could make it peter out. Kind of the same in like ground, right? Like it's not like the fire gets smaller or anything, it just kind of disappears. But I don't know, whatever it is, wherever or however it happens on planes to make it like more realistic, then yeah, they should do it. And I'm sure they will, like going forward. Like they're usually pretty good on stuff like that. The guys who work on those like little changes are so good at them. Like it's just fantastic to see, Like they really seem to know what they're doing, whoever like that set of guys are. So it's really good to see. And yeah, sure, why not? How do I edit a replay to make a clip? I don't know. It depends on your editing software. Like on Sony Vegas, there's a ton of tutorials for it, and that's the one that I use personally. Then we have Last Red Star. Do you think Gaijin will revert the ATGM changes, or will they just fade into obscurity like SPGs? Also, I laughed at one of your recent videos. The sound man, he's back with a vengeance. Never change. He never goes away. He just goes on holiday for a bit. Turns out his holidays are just disappearing to places, and straight up just like he just takes a microphone wherever he goes, Well, either Sony Vegas or what's that other one called? Not Macintosh. Anybody know? I can't remember the name of it right now. What's the free editor that people use? I think in terms of the ATGM changes, like they might modify them a little bit, but I think they're just gonna go forward with the ones as they go, and then just rebalance the vehicles. Like now that they've this like rebalance or whatever that they've done, it's basically based around the idea of they don't want certain technologies facing other technologies. So it doesn't, at least the way that they've done it, it doesn't seem like it's based around stats. It seems like it's based more around those collective ideas. So once these changes have gone through, which they already have, and once the research changes go through, they're going to have a bunch of new like statistics to look at on how these vehicles are doing. And as somebody who's played them, and as somebody who's seen them being played, they're not doing very well. So I think eventually what will happen is a lot of them will go down in BR again, because that's kind of where they need to be, And even if you wanted to make it kind of interesting, you could actually make the same reason they kept the heavy tanks at the BRs that they did. They can also move the ATGM carriers down, because you could say, well, those are the counter to the heavy tanks, right? And then there'll be a lot of heavy tank players who go, well, it's not fair. Like, they could pen me. Bleh. But you could just turn around and go, well, yeah, but you can machine gun them to death. Like, maybe that would be like a kind of a brain versus brawn kind of thing, and that would be pretty fun. Right now, that's not the case, and they're just useless. So, no, I don't think they'll revert them. I honestly think they'll just balance their BRs, or at least try to, or just forget they exist, like 95% of the community. Alright, then we have, let's see. We have Luxionica. Hi, TEC. Hello. Hope you and the friends you've been helping are doing well. I'd love to know your thoughts on ways to make the events less of a time-consuming grind. Yeah, my mates are good. So nobody died in the fires. So that's a positive. Some people lost their houses, which suck. But it's Canada and stuff like that happens. Luckily, insurance exists, so hopefully everything gets sorted. But yeah, the main thing, as always, is everybody is safe. Everybody is okay. So simple as that. So that's a positive. This is my first summer event I've tried to finish, and honestly it'll be my last two. Spending almost 3 weeks constantly grinding a game just to get mostly mediocre rewards has been tedious to say the least. I've loved War Thunder. I've loved War Thunder over the years, but playing almost non-stop for weeks to get the event vehicles has killed my enjoyment for the game and honestly affected my mental health since I've not really enjoyed any of it overall. It's good that you've noticed that. Like that's very positive because a lot of people don't notice that and then they just instead cry and bitch on forums and Reddits and all of that wonderful stuff. Obviously, give yourself a good break. Like, go and play a few other things. Obviously, Starfield just came out. Men of War 2 is coming out soon, by the way. Definitely looking forward to that. Viewfinder was a game that I played recently that was super fun. Really interesting mechanics and, moving around the place. So for me, when it comes to the event, the problem for me with the events is not necessarily the time it takes to grind out the event, because obviously it is quite a lot. It's the fact that you get diminishing returns. So, and this is a problem with every video game right now. As the video game goes on, the returns that you get for the similar actions that you did previously are a lot less than what they were before. So for example, let's say you play like COD and you play like 30 matches, right? And then you play the next COD and now they've increased the grind of that specific thing you were playing, so now you got to play 35 matches. But you don't really notice because it's such a small incremental change. Now with Gaijin, they've done the incremental change with the actual challenge element itself, but they made the big change over the last few years, which is reducing the amount of vehicles you get in the event, right? So now you get one lower tier random premium, and then you get three event vehicles. So what it used to be is you just straight up got 6 premiums. You got 3 mid-tier premiums, and then you got 3 low-tier premiums. And now that's just not the case. Instead you just get way less for the stuff before. And the only difference is now they're more high tier stuff, and because there's a ton of random people who are just for some reason into high tier stuff just by themselves, then this is just seen as okay. Even though they won't have lineups, they'll just have a bad time and generally just won't enjoy themselves unless they actually fully get all this stuff done. So they just sat in just really awkward, weird scenarios, and it's just no good for them. Like it can't be enjoyable at all. So for me, the way would be is to bring back the system of mid-tier premiums and low-tier premiums instead of random high-tier event vehicles. So you have at least a little bit more value for what you're actually grinding out. And then the next thing that I would also do is I would make it so like the first marker distinction for, let's say, whatever you complete for that set of 2 days is 30k like it is, and then the next one it gets reduced to 25, and then the one after it gets reduced to 20. So once again you have a progressive setup where it makes it a little bit easier to get the vehicles, but it also promotes people playing a variety of game modes instead of just doing the same things over and over and over again and losing their minds, which is what ends up happening during these events, and also Build-A-Bear events. You could also add in the system that they did, which I thought was fantastic actually, for the Atomic Thunder event, where every other challenge was not just play the game. It was actually tied to playing a specific vehicle. It was tied to, you know, different play styles, even like killing specific vehicles, or you know, trying to you know, go after certain things, you know, like with the repair cellars or the laser cellars, and then, you know, the rolling balls and things like the hedgy. And they could do stuff like that, like, hey, get, you know, 50 kills in heavy tanks. You know, hit ground targets, destroy AIs, you know, in aviation. You could have all these types of sets of things, and they go along with the event itself. So kind of like Battle Pass challenges, so you're not limited to just doing them in 2 days. You have the whole event to do them once you've unlocked them, and then it just makes it a bit easier, right? Because you're not uber focused on just doing like, okay, I'm going to play this for like 10 days straight because I want to get this mark of distinction, and the only way I can do it effectively, because I've got to work and I got family and then I got all these other obligations, is to just do the same thing every day and get burnt out. And then, oh, there's a new update now, but I'm already annoyed because of what everything's going on. So a little bit more variety in the prizes, a little bit easier to grind out, and promotion of you know, promotion of different game modes. And then also on top of that, just like event challenges instead of bi-daily challenges for some of the things would be just fantastic. I think that's how I would change it. That's how I would improve it, and kind of like go forward with it, and hope that, you know, it would work for a decent amount of people. Whether it would or not, you know, is obviously up in the air. And but for me, that's how I would solve that issue that people are having. So then we have type 10, so just the MBT. Let's just hit this guy. Type 10 says, let's just line it up properly. There we go. Hey TEC, I've been thinking about Wasp amphibious assault ships being added for VTOL aircraft to land on, but not to be an actual vehicle. Also, as a player who plays Japan, how good is the Type 16P since I'm researching it? Does anybody know what a Wasp is? I don't know what that is, unfortunately. Like, I'm not sure how it works or anything like that. Oh, the Wasps are basically mini carriers? I mean, sure, yeah. I don't see why not. I don't know how much of an effect they would have, but they wouldn't have a negative effect. So, yeah. Like, why not? You know, we got helicopters, we got VTOLs, we got all that. Like, yeah, let's go for it. Go crazy. Woo! You know, have a bit of fun. The Type 16s. So the Type 16s are super fun. I played the 2 tech tree ones that have existed, and the main thing is obviously getting the APF SDS, but the big nice thing about the vehicle, or the vehicles, is the simple fact that they have good mobility, they have laser rangefinders, they have Gen 2 thermals, and APF SDS, and an LR, or an LWS, sorry, which is the laser warning system, or laser warning receiver, whatever you want to call it. So they're actually super easy to play. The only problem with the Type 16 total is that it's an end-of-the-line vehicle, which, you know, I mean, I can show you my stats and the things, and the only difference between them is an APF SDS round, like that's literally it. But I just finished the Type 16P. I'm going to do a video on it next week because it was really fun to play. But the main thing is it's super enjoyable. Like, you know, good for scouting. If you get up-tiered, you can just scout. If you get, you know, down-tiered, you can dominate. Isn't exactly incredibly survivable, but that's not really why you play a vehicle like that. Like, you don't play it for its survivability. And then also, at the same time, the interesting thing about it, at least in my opinion, is the Gen 2 thermals at such a low BR. It also has the Type 74s around it, the Type 89, the Type 87. The only thing that kind of lets down that BR for Japan is the CAS being pretty rough. Like, that's That stuff is no good, but everything else is completely fine. So you'll have a great time in it. Just don't be too aggressive too quickly. It is the main thing to mention about that, because if you are, you'll just get hammered, right? Like you'll just get hammered by vehicles that are around the place, which is no fun. Like I'll show you my stats, like in the Type 16s, and you'll kind of see what I mean about the vehicles. Just being quite enjoyable. I wish they would have brought one on a mobile grind for free tank and ship during the event. The battle pass is a little overwhelming. I agree, there's a lot of stuff going on. That is very true. Right, last mark done. Good. I get to get the coupon, which I'm not going to use. So, ooh, what happened there? Oh yeah, I also got the SPG 12.3 today. Big ups. No, I'm not doing the gacha stuff. I don't want to. So alright, let's just consume this just to have it. Because I don't sell any of the vehicles, so but yeah, 100 war bonds. Oh baby. That's right. That's what we like. That's what we like. Hey Richings, nice to see you, man. Hopefully everything's good. Hopefully you were playing Armored Core, right? How was Armored Core going? Hopefully it was good. But yeah, so back to what I was talking about. So the Japan. So Type 16P, we went plus 60 or plus 55, 52% win rate, and the Type 16, 52% win rate again, 125 to 87, so plus 40 basically. And the difference, as I said, between the two is the end of the line status of this one. So and also it has this round. It's just way too crazy to research like this one. I've actually played basically the same amount of matches in both, and I still have this much to do on the other one where I've spaded the Type 16, which just shows, you know, how much that sucks, right? Like it's way too ridiculous. At the end of the day, how much you have to put into to research end of the line vehicles, which hopefully will be at some point fixed. And also, we're going to take a tech talk break because I have to do the card opening since we have completed a star. So if you don't know, every star that we complete, we open a Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering set, just because why not? It's another thing that helps with events, just doing random little things during them, whether it's like press ups or workouts or anything like that, just to kind of get through the time. So the art is just planes. So just planes. There you go. Planes. That's kind of boring. Oh, there you go. Rising of the Day, full card art. Lovely to see. And we also have Bill Fernie, the Bree Swindler. Absolute classic individual. Oath of the Grey Host. Time for some Ghost Boys in the hizzy. Then we have Shadowfax, Lord of Horses. Gandalf the White's Horse. Lovely to see. Then Revive the Shire. So get it going after the Goblin invasion. And then we have Shire itself, the Terrace. Lovely. Good to see that too. Then Shire Scarecrow. A lot of hobbits in there. Then we have Shower of Arrows chucking in the place. Just chilling. Then, we got ourselves a Swamp Bowl card. Nice. We got Mordor, baby. Then we have the ring itself. Always nice to have the ring. Then the shiny is East Farthing Farmer. So the boy is just chilling. Lovely. Then we also have Goldberry River Daughter. What? Who the hell is that? Fear nothing, for tonight you are under the roof of Tom Bombadil. You should fear everything if you're under Tom Bombadil's roof. And then the last one, Gandalf, Westward Voyager. Lovely stuff. That was actually a really good pack. Beautiful. We got Shadowfax, Gandalf, a crazy woman. Everything is awesome. Right, let's go back to the tech talks. There we go. Evening, Hoplophobic. Nice to see you, brother. Hopefully you're doing well, man. Hopefully life's good. Alright. So we'll just set this up. Little interlude. And now on to planes. It's very fast-paced and difficult in both my eyes. How am I doing today? I'm doing good, man. We're just doing the tech talk, so we're chilling. You know, we've got to do the pilot star now, so we'll just chill and do this. I should probably try and change this at some point, just to make it a little bit easier. No, really good, that one. A War Thunder card collection? You know what? You know what is kind of interesting? There is actually a War Thunder... There's a War Thunder board game. And we were actually going to order some, so we would have them. Rocker and I were going to do it. We actually had a contact in Ukraine, because that's where one of the companies actually had it was. And then guess what happened? Russia decided to bloody invade, didn't they? So that's why I haven't made a video on the War Thunder board game. Now, I'm not saying that Russia invaded Ukraine to stop me, but I'm also not denying it. Twats. Right, anyway. Back to back to the tech talk. Oh god. Right. Let's see what the next one is. So we have Fears a Lemon. Let's see. Would it be possible to play on Tabletop Simulator? I have no idea. I haven't seen it on there. Maybe. So we have Fizz a Lemon once again. Hey Tech. Hello. Hello. What do you think about adding the R73 to the MiG-21 and Yak-141 as well? They're decent right now, but especially in Sim, you do feel sometimes the short range of the R60M versus the AIM-9L. There were early and later variants of the R73, so they could flare resistance as an R60, like dropping a cigarette out of the cockpit and it's defeated. Without AB, of course, but would give more range. Also, I kind of fear the age of Fox 3 missiles, like the R77 and AIM-120. And then, by the way, I miss interesting event vehicles. I really wish the Panzer 4 or 5. Anyway, love the vids. Thanks for the previous answer. Keep calm and keep up. Will do, as always. The answer is no, for now. I think is probably the way to go. I'm not... When you have really powerful vehicles, which are really good and maybe only like second best instead of, let's say, 10th or 20th best of their BR, it's usually not great to buff them a ridiculous amount. And since stuff like that, like since pretty much all of the changes to munitions and things like that are based on balance, the vehicles would have to be doing badly in order for them to get added. The reason why they're giving them to the Su-25 is the vehicle is shocking, right? Like at its BR, it's going to be impossible to play in in a realistic or sim or anything without stuff like that. And even with that stuff, like they were saying that they're thinking of giving it to the Su-25T or SU or the Su-39 because they're just doing so badly in most of the game modes. And that's, you know, kind of a problem because you want things to be balanced and those vehicles are never going to be balanced, but you could at least try it and try and improve it. And so they're thinking of maybe adding it to those, but when you take vehicles which are already really strong, now as I said, maybe not, they might not be the strongest, but you got to remember the game is not just one or two vehicles like a different BRs. Then what you gotta do is not just try and think of it from like a point of view like that. You got to think about it from like a whole BR bracket kind of thing instead of how does it match up against this like one thing that exists. And if it doesn't match up against that one thing, does it match up better in other areas compared to that other thing, right? The Ak-141, in my opinion, shouldn't even be in the game. Like, the fact that it's already in the game should be a blessing in of itself. Especially since it never mounted weapons, never had really any electronics. It really was a very, very basic prototype, you know, and never got to the levels where it should have. I actually put it basically in the same route as, like, the J6, like, the way that it's in the game right now. So, even improving it in more ways, especially if it's already doing pretty well, there's not really much point in it. Now, I'm sure in the future they'll get stuff like R73. It's kind of like how a lot of vehicles got access to R60Ms and also got access to AIM-9Ls as better vehicles got put into the game. Do I think that that time is now? No. No, I don't. Don't think it should be. And we have away with you, Val Beggar. Stop. You violated the law. Hey, TEC. Hello. Thanks for putting up with my shenanigans essays. I'll leave the last one for a later date, so I'll present you my homework today. For today, since one of my fellow classmates talked about something similar. Oh, thanks. It's homework time. I'm back in school. Good evening, Lorico. Nice to see you. So we have the SPG ability, Spotting Flares. It's about the whole illumination shell idea, but instead of it being a shell, it's a flare. Insert mind-blown meme here. Seeing how it's used to illuminate a zone so you can spot better, why not make it just do that in the game? Just like Arty, you can choose to deploy it in specific zones, but instead of a barrage of cells, you would spot, and I guess illuminate if you play night maps, everything in that zone for a couple of seconds. They can stay up for 5, 10 or more seconds, depending on how big the spotting circle is and how far you can deploy the ability. I tried to think of a mechanic that would be helpful for the user/team, but to be fair, for the people on the receiving end. So basically, you like drop, you basically drop a scout. Like this was something that they talked about, scout helicopters, like how scout helicopters would work. Like the idea was, at the end of the day, that that you would like fire like a blanket over part of the map, and then everything in that area would be scouted for the team. No, I'm not a huge fan of that, but we'll go through the last bit and then go through it. And it's good for the team if the team ever looks at the mini-map, because help me God, if I see one more German main stare at the sun listening to Erica while I'm getting mauled by the enemy team, I'll bring planes in my lineup just to team kill them. Okay. Anyway, thanks again for the entertainment. Hope you have a great week. Same to you. Hopefully you have a good one too. So, the problem I have with the way that stuff already works when it comes to War Thunder is arcade exists, right? Arcade is there, and one of the major differences between arcade and realistic, apart from the speed, is the way that spotting works. And the way that spotting works in arcade is it's a proximity one. And if you actually had, or if you put this system in for SPGs, that would basically what it would become. Maybe what you could do is you could make it so it's a personal scout in a way. So instead of it just being a scout, which is for, instead of it just being a scout, which is for the whole team, it could just show you a specific part of the map, and then you could kind of go from there, right? So instead of it being in a point where, instead of it being at a point where you are scouting for the people, you could technically like scout for yourself. And then maybe if you're in a squad, it could obviously help them out, but you also already have drones, so you already have stuff like that. So you could do that effectively. I think that would be fine. I think what I would more enjoy is just a smoke artillery or something like that. Like just being able to somehow focus the way that people fight things. So if you're a TD, you'd be in like a stationary defensive area, and then, you know, if you want people to go down a certain place, you could smoke another place to kind of force them to go in the places where they see. I think that would actually be kind of interesting, even if it was just one smoke grenade, you know, especially for the ones which especially for the ones where it just doesn't have access to that. So for me, that's probably how I would do it. The whole night battles thing as well, there's a reason why they removed them. There was a very, very small minority of the player base who actually enjoyed night battles, and those were the guys who were abusing other people who didn't have thermals and didn't have these things, or were just using NVIDIA filters and or AMD filters to be able to see. And no good. Sorry. There's a reason why they were removed. They should have never been put in. They should have never, ever graced the game. But it's just another one of those ideas where someone in a meeting said, "Oh, this sounds good. We have this light system. We should We should use it. Gee, yeah, it should be awesome. And then it gets used and it's absolutely gaff. And it takes too long to realize it's gaff. So anything involving night battles for me is a no. I will not be turning them back on, and I won't even facilitate any thoughts about improving them or anything. They need to be gone, and they are gone, and that is very positive for the game. Anybody who asks for night battles goes in the same category as the people who ask for surroundings of Volokholamsk. In the bin. Right, let's just land. Woo! I just realized I talked for an hour without a drink. Right. Let's get landed and get going. This game is over. Don't forget Red Desert enjoyers. Well, thank God all those maps are just limited to top 10 now. That's all I'll say. Very positive move by Kajin there. So then we have Aldo Caruli. Pretty cool name. Hello, Tech. Hello. Hope you're doing well. Doing all right. Thanks for answering me about the Object 279. Saw all your vids, and yep, we're exactly spot on. Thank you again for the date in the description. Anytime. So that's something we're gonna do going forward, which is, you know, basically putting the date of recording in the description so people can remember when it's from. For today's question, I've been grinding the event as well, and it's going pretty good so far. For all the 3 stars. I know that you don't want to touch the market because as a CC you could get into conflict of interest, grey area, and but what's your personal opinion on which the 3 vehicles will be more appetizing in the long run? Been paying my yearly premiums and packs with event vehicles, and I want to hear your opinion on the subject. Thanks, as you always, for helping me grind those gold stars, those tech talks in the background. Keep up the good work. Will do. The decal, I actually like the way that the decal looks in the game. Like the tech decal, I think it works really well, personally. Hey, Gem Detrego, nice to see you. Like the whole point of it was supposed to be kind of like an insignia that you could like put over certain things, and it fits really well, so it's good. But thank you. So, if we look at the 3 vehicles, the one which is actually going to fetch probably the highest price is the SU-25. The reason for this is because it does have some pretty bonkers munitions on it, and as time goes on, it will get better. The Patria is also really pretty cool. Like, it's got a great turret, it's also got a decent base, it's a bit big, and it also has a pretty positive lineup. It also has the advantage of being a ground vehicle, and people, or I don't know if it's like the general opinion, but the people that, you know, I talk to, Sweden has the strongest, at the moment, top tier ground. And I know people always point towards the Soviets, and the Soviets are very strong, and they do work very well, mainly because of their CAS elements, but just from a ground point of view, like, Sweden is much better than the USSR. So that to me is just like, you know, how it is. They have 2 2A6s basically. They have crazy rounds. They have great backup vehicles. They have the ITO. Like they have pretty much everything that you'd ever want, like in a setup like that. So yeah, it's just much better to play Sweden than anybody else right now because they're just they're basically what Germany will eventually become, and that is pretty scary, right? So it's not going to be the Renown because it's just not the Renown. Sorry, like it's British and a battle cruiser / ship. It's a cool one, and you know I'm really interested in it because of the historical ties. But the amount of people, the demand for that is going to be too low. So it's either SU-25 or it's Patria. And for me, I would say it's just going to be the SU-25 because it's part of a major nation. It's going to be useful in multiple game modes. And also, at the same time, it has some really funny, crazy missiles. And people are going to watch videos about it and go, ooh, look, oh, missile goes crazy, you know, like it's all over the place. Look at it go. Whoa, it does a 180. Wow, you know. So, yeah, the average person is going to go, oh, that's awesome. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. So if I had to bet money, I'd put it on the SU-25. But both are safe bets. They'll both be around 40 Guardian like they always are. And yeah, simple as that. The next one to focus on when it comes to Guardian market stuff is obviously the Build-A-Bear event. That's going to be coming in a few months. So yeah, that's when we'll start chatting about that stuff a bit more. So then we have Keep Key Gang. Oh, wait. Key Gang Gallop. Hey Tech, what do you think could be done to improve rank 6 of Swedish Air? Well, they could probably add more vehicles. I can't remember what's in rank 6 right now. Is that the J29s? Or is that some of the other vehicles? I mean, the major thing that they can do is add more J35s. The J29s are trash, so don't add any more of them. But the main thing is just adding in more Swedish vehicles, right? Like add in well, not just Swedish vehicles, but like Scandinavian vehicles or Nordic vehicles. So just add whatever versions of those that existed or were used in that area of the world. So the main thing for me when I look at Sweden Air, generally I think it's okay. Like, you know, obviously the J29s are a bust, the A32 can be a bit hard, the J34 generally is fine. But yeah, the Scandinavia in general, or Nordic in general, have some pretty fun vehicles, especially Norway. Norway has a ton of cool stuff. Obviously the Finnish stuff is pretty cool as well. So yeah, they could go hard on those things. That would be quite nice to see. They could do that. Just don't add any more J29s for the love of God. Yeah, the Nat, the Fallen Nat, and the Canberra. They could also get the IL-28 as well, but I think that'll be rank 5. Like all of those work, you know. All those would be great. So then we have Flair. Let's see what Flair says. Hey Tech, hi. Thank you for your informative response to my previous question. What do you think about the following proposal for RRB? If you set an opponent on fire and a teammate finishes them off, you get the kill and the friendly gets the assist. I know people have differing opinions on kill stealing, but I feel like this could be a welcome change. Many thanks. Anytime. Sure. As long as the fire was to a critical component. I think nowadays when it comes to fires, I'm pretty sure what happens is if it burns for like a second or two, it counts as a critical. So if you're the first person to get a critical, even if somebody finishes them off, you should still get the kill, unless it's, you know, past a specific amount of time. So for me, yeah, like, you know, why not? Why not do stuff like that? I think it already happens, just I don't think it's always guaranteed. So yeah, maybe they could like guarantee it in some way, like that could be a way to go, and then kind of like go from there. Well, I'd be completely fine with it, like, because one of the things is even so this happens a lot in jets. If you crit a jet, I know it doesn't always kill the vehicle. So let's say if you crit the fuselage, the tail, whatever you do, right? But what it does is that jet loses so much performance. Even if you just hit them, like even if you just yellow an area of them, they lose like massive percentage of like their general performance. So for me, that should count as something, you know, if you get a crit, it should just be counted. If the other person gets the kill, the reason why they got the kill is because you slowed down the enemy, right? With your initial crit. So it should be on the first person. Alright. And then we have Bruce. Miss Bruce, Rip Bruce, Silly Sausage. God damn it, Bruce. The voice of War Thunder just had to do some just dumb stuff, didn't he? Just had to do some stupid things, did our Bruce. But not this Bruce. Honest question. Do you think it might be easier or harder to play the ATGM struggle bus in Sim Ground? I mean, I don't think the vehicle's usability doesn't change if you're in RB or if you're in SB. because the vehicle itself, like the ATGM mechanics are seen as realistic in both setups. So the only thing that may change is a slight difference in how you see the game, right? Good morning, Juan. Nice to see you. So what I would say is it depends on your map knowledge, and also depends on how patient you're willing to be. So for a lot of like areas, it would actually be more beneficial to do it in sim, if you are familiar with the maps, and also if you are familiar with the general areas that you got to go, and also the areas which enemies come from. Because you can just stay stationary and shoot things, right? Which is basically what you do in realistic as well. So, I would actually think sim would be a better environment, but it just depends on how good you are at spotting enemies. If you're not as good, then realistic is the way to go. Both are... Oh, damn it. I loaded the wrong game mode. But yeah, I would say sim, actually. I think that's a fair thing. So then we have Lewis Amor, and I have an interesting lineup here. Let's just go this way. Hey Tech, hello. Thanks for all the kind words. Let's just go this way. Thanks for all the kind words on my last comment. Hopefully your experience at university didn't treat you too harshly. The autoloading FV... well, we'll start off with the first bit. To be honest, my university experience was fine. It was my dumbass that made it hard. Because I decided to basically double my workload, where obviously I could have just done the standard stuff. I basically did 2 degrees in the time that people do 1. So over a 4-year period, I did 2 degrees instead of 1, and that screwed me because of, the amount of effort that I needed to go into it and the amount of classes that I needed to do, and I didn't give myself really a break apart from 1 semester in the 3rd year. So I was doing 4 semesters a year. I was doing spring, summer, fall, winter. So the reason why I had quite a negative experience at university was completely on my head. But also, I saw it as a short-term loss, long-term gain, and it worked. Because now I feel like I'm in a very positive position. I'm in a pretty decent area of life, and everything feels pretty good. But that could have been very different, It could have been incredibly different if I'd, done stuff differently. And, well, yeah, simple as. The autoloading FV has the same 183mm gun as the turreted one, by the way. Great news to hear that the 2S1's being added. Yeah, pretty nice to see. And maybe the Americans will get the M109. I think eventually they will. I just don't think they'll get it. Hey, Tsar, nice to see you. I don't think they'll get it this update, because it seems like they do like 1 SPH per update. They're not like throwing them all in at the same time. They're not doing update SPH, probably because not many people care about it. But they'll get it. I used to have a lot of ideas of tanks to add, but the tech talks have shown me... let's just go this way. The tech talks have shown me that most of them would suck or break the game. However, what are your thoughts on the American T-58? It's an M103 with an autoloader, only 6 rounds inside it, and a 155mm gun. Jesus. I think it'll be a fun event vehicle, but what are your thoughts? Cheers, hope you have a good day. P.S. You can ask the War Thunder forums for information about the Ajax. There'll always be people who are willing to leak some classified military documents to help you out. Well, yeah, you're right about that. God damn. I don't think so, Shmuel. I haven't seen anything. So... I don't see why not. Like, there's a bunch of crazy vehicles there for America. Kind of like in that, like, rank 4 area, I suppose you class that as rank 4, rank 5. Like, a lot of the weird prototypes they did during the Second World War, but that's also post-World War II. Things like the T-30 are actually vehicles I kind of enjoy playing just because of their donkey nature, right? Like, they're you fire the round and then you kind of just chill there for a little bit, and then, you fire another one. If this would be similar to that, but obviously kind of rapid fire, and then you'd have to just wait on a cap or something to kind of get them back. I would rather see stuff such as the the T95 variants instead of that M103 thing, but also I wouldn't mind seeing both, right? Like it's not one or the other. Both would be fine. And the answer, at least to me, the answer I think is just they'll come eventually. It's just what form will they come in. And I think some stuff like an event vehicle would probably be the best. Yeah, of course, Newcastle. Go ahead, man. Right, let's do this. Then we have Lewis MK10. Hi Tech, loving these talks. I'm loving doing them. So let's keep them going. You know, simple as. Have a bit of fun with them. A few videos ago, I think you mentioned something about a War Thunder app that allows you to keep your daily login. Did I hear you right, or am I missing something? You heard me right. So they haven't implemented it yet, but War Thunder Mobile, which is going to be the mobile version of War Thunder, crazy, right? So they're going to have a system that is built into the game where you can actually log into War Thunder Mobile and the two accounts will be linked because it's through your Guardian account. So if you log into War Thunder Mobile, it will also log you into the standard War Thunder as well. Now, they haven't implemented it yet, but they're going to. So that's coming, which is pretty cool. And hopefully it'll be added in like the coming months. So then if people like go on traveling, or if people like, you know, go to different areas, they can keep their login streak, because I know it's important to people. You know, it seems like it's a little bit, you know, I mean, to some, who are people to judge what other people are interested in, right? And for me, I don't really think about the login streak mostly, but it is also, you know, something nice to have, because a big number goes higher. It would just be nice if there was slightly more things you could get out of it, apart from just decals, maybe titles and things like that. But for some people, it is important to do, and since they're adding in the system, that's positive. There's also a few other things, like you've got the Guardian app itself. I can't remember what it's called, but that actually has an inbuilt thing in it. That has an inbuilt authenticator in it, which is super important because, you know, you want to make sure to keep your Guardian account safe, so you can actually, Jesus Christ, so you can actually keep it safe with a two-factor authentication, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's an important thing that you can sort out, and obviously quite important to set up. I went down the wrong bloody line, and I also screwed that shot up real bad. Very unfortunate. Just need to deal with the heavy. So then we have Andrew. Hey, Tech. Oh, I missed the cupola by like a centimeter. With the rank changes coming soon, are currently rank 6 premium vehicles like the M1 KVT and T72 going to go $70 instead of $50? And if so, do you think it's time to buy these vehicles before the next update? Depends on the vehicles, and yes, they will be. Basically, they will be going up in cost. That is just like a definite thing. So if they go up in rank, they will go up in cost as well. Hey, never mind. Nice to see you. So there's two ways to look at it, and it depends how scummy Guardian wants to be about this. And my feeling is they are going to be, because they've actually done this in the past. One of the issues with changing the rank and cost of a lot of these vehicles is it means that they're not going to be available in the next couple of sales, because they are technically new packs. Now, they've done this in the past, so a lot of the vehicles that are changing ranks right now may not be available in the November sale. So, if that's the case, right, like if that's the case that they're not available, then you're going to have to wait a year, because you got the summer sales, which they won't be available for, so then you got, you know, the November ones again. So you're going to have to wait a long time for them to be discounted. Yeah? And that means that you can either play the vehicle for a year at double the price than it is, you know, 50% off, or you can wait over a year to be able to pick it up for half the price. And if that's the case, they might change it again, so you won't be able to get access to it again. So it's really hard to tell, like, what they're gonna do with it, and it really just depends on if they want to be assholes about it or not, you know. Yeah, this is live, so I literally said hi to you. So it really honestly depends. Well, even the Christmas sale they won't be available for because it's 2 updates, isn't it? It's two or three updates, so they'll be available for the summer sale at the earliest. And then even then, when that happens, they weren't available like for the summer sale this time because they didn't come out at the correct time, right? So the simple fact is that we don't know. And if you do want to pick stuff up, obviously use the partner link so you can get a bit of a discount on it. But to me, it would look like they wouldn't be discounted because of that whole rule that they have. And with the decisions that they've made, you know, kind of going forward. Which sucks. Because you'd want them to be discounted so people can get access to them. But it might not be the case. Very unfortunate. This poor panther's been a bit bullied here. Let's just end him. Alright, so the next one is Never True. Hey Tech, hello. I've discovered your videos recently. I want to say that you're a really chill guy, and your content is my go-to when I want to relax. I mean, pretty much, you know, gaming's for relaxing. It's just about having a bit of fun and chatting about random stuff. I wish we were all a little bit less serious about the game and just kind of chill and, you know, have a bit of fun. And it's nice to see that there's a lot of people who feel like that too. My question is, tanks in this game have many camos for different environments, and the game usually picks the one that's most suited for the environment. Let's just try and help out the ground things. I'm supposed to be here killing stuff, so, you know. Yeah, I saw it in Newcastle, but we're doing the tech talk, so just chill with it. Something that bothers me is that most of the time the game picks only one camo for a specific theater. Let's just top down this guy. Even if the vehicle can use camos from the same environment. I'd like that they have a way to set some camos as favorites. So whenever I'm fighting desert map, for example, the only camo I'd pick is the one that can be used on desert maps. That only applies to the option automatic camo in battle, set to yes, but I would still like to see this implemented. What are your thoughts about this, and what would you do different? Sorry for the long question. I'm struggling on making ideas easier to understand in English. Hope it's okay. Love from Romania. Of course, yeah. So you just want an expansion of the standard system they have, like the automatic one, right? So if a map is set to, let's say, a desert condition, then you would use a camo that you have specified instead of what the game thinks automatically should work. And yeah, sure. Like, I would be fine with that, you know? Like, that would work pretty well to me. Nice to see you, Papa Stalin. Hopefully you're doing alright today. Like, you could easily just add in an option, right? Where all you gotta do is you just gotta, like, tick a box which says either deserts, you know, deserts, green, or winter, whatever the things are. And then depending on what you ticked on the box, whatever map you got, if it corresponds to it, then you just make that map you make that skin the one you go for. And since they've expanded these things quite a lot, why not, you know? Like, why not expand these things up to a point and make it a little bit easier for people to use the different things? Seems to make the most sense to me. just in general. So we have Jerry. Hey up, Jerry. There we go. Ooh. Flying a bit like a moron right now, but it's okay. So Jerry says, do you think the F-14A should be moved up to 12.0? Sure, why not? I've got no idea. I haven't played that area of the game in about 6 months. Last time I played it was like in June, was it? No, it was like in May or April. It was a while ago. And the basic reason is because, you know, I'm not that interested in that area right now. It's just not very fun. So, yeah, I would probably, I might enjoy it like in the future. I don't know. We'll have to see. But right now, it's definitely not the case. So, no idea. But yeah, sure. Toss a coin. So we have TK221. I'd like if Gaijin made cannon barrels go up during reload on modern vehicles like Leopards. Of course, this wouldn't prolong gun reloading. Instead, it would be included into it. Thank you for the content. Have a fun and good day. You too. No. The reason... Imagine how annoying it would be for that to happen. So every time you shoot the gun, it isn't that it just goes up, right? It's the fact that on a lot of vehicles, you actually have to set it up so it is in a specific position, right? Not just an angle, but also in the way that the turret is faced. Like when you have a look at Soviet vehicles, the Type 10, stuff like that. So for me, the answer is no, because it would just it adds an element out of your control of the vehicle and just makes it annoying to use, like basically. So for me, it would just make it very annoying. I think there are some things which realistically exist that do not have to be in the game, like maintenance and things like that, right? Like they just don't need to be there. Maybe if you had like AI in a mission, and when they shoot, they could have something like that. But if you had to do it every time, the answer would be no. Because then aiming just becomes a mess. Like it really does. And also the way that you have your tank turned would be way more important than pretty much anything else. Then you have Insane Robert. Regarding the jet balancing, I believe the biggest issues are around 9.0 to 10.0, still not addressed in game. It's nice to see Gaijin to give other vehicles a chance to shine, but they always overdo it, like they did with the F-104 and the Lightning. Those jets were fine to sit at 9.7, but others around them should have gone up or down. For example, Su-25s are still too powerful even in RRB at 10.0. Yeah, they don't climb. They don't climb in BR. Meanwhile, the Italian G91 series is still kept to 9.7 without a valid reason. In the same time, plenty of MiG-21s around 9.7-10.0 are doing too well and outperform both in armament and flight model other jets. The same could be said for the F-5C. Their only downside is the AIM-9E missiles, but they tend to be thrown many times against 9.3 jets and dominate the matches. AJ doesn't like this question. He's not a fan. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Okay, I'm back. I'm guessing I got shot. Yeah, so let's do this. There's a package. Package came in, so that's why AJ went a little bit crazy. But all sorted. Right. These jets that sit too low in BRs tend to be spammed in matchmaking, and each other jet struggling in the same BR range, while others end up being neglected and skipped by players, even if they're pretty decent as vehicles. But because of these unfortunate matchmaking situations, they end up skipped in research. Yes, agreed. Talked about this many times. Doesn't matter. Statistics disagree. So that's all that matters. The simple fact is these conversations are completely null and void because they're based on personal opinion of what people have in the times. You know, the stuff that they see and the statistics that they think of. The thing with Gaijin is they have all of those statistics plus extra ones from other people, and also the actual baseline stats of the vehicles themselves and how they're balanced. So the simple thing is, like, at the end of the day, the way that all this stuff is set up is they have all of the things. Also, they're looking for a game, the game balancer. Go to their website and apply if you think you know everything. They actually are looking for one, by the way. So get in there. Get involved. Be the change you want to see. Sweet dreams, sir. Nice to see you, Bob. Hopefully you're doing good. And then there's Jerry, again. Do you think multiple spawns in RB would work? Yes, since it works in every other game mode. It would actually probably better, not in the way of multiple spawns, but what you could do is you could take in a lineup for RB, and depending on the map that you get, you could pick which plane would suit you better in that period of time. So that could be pretty nice at the end of the day. I think because there are specific maps where I would prefer to play, let's say, a strike aircraft or a fighter or a bomber or whatever. You know, like it was always there's always like better reasons to play a specific vehicle over another one. So I would say that would be nice. But who knows? Anything's possible. Then we have the Potato Man. So let's see. So we have Stayner Vilnas. I think that World War mode, enduring confrontation and such would be more popular if entering them would be more visible, since it is not really in your face. I do not really notice when they're held. You would be wrong. They've tried many times to promote them. They've made news articles, dev blogs. They've pushed people to talk about them. And they've done pretty much everything that they could to do it, just like they have the esports stuff. People just don't care. You know, that's the kind of like the go-to thing when people talk about this stuff. Like the go-to thing that many people will bring up, like why an idea that they like is not popular, is because it wasn't advertised enough. Well, I know it's crazy to think, but some ideas don't need crazy amounts of advertising because they're just good ideas. If an idea needs a metric ton of advertising and a metric ton of basically pushing it in your face, which they've tried to do with the esports stuff or tried to do, with even other parts of it, and people still aren't interested, maybe the idea is just not a one which appeals to a ton of people, Maybe it's just one which doesn't have high-end appeal to all different sets of people, and that's okay. Not everything has to be available or interesting for everybody, but it's also got to be understood. So then we have Abby, or Abigail X Cake. So you have your archer and warrior locked in. You need a healer to stop them dying. Who do you pick? White mage, solid heals. Scholar, shields and heals. Astrologer, buffs and heals. Or sage, barriers and heals. Well, if we just go straight heals, so like in the form of the white mage, they probably have or if they have any type of healing reduction, you're just kind of screwed, right? So if you go all in on one idea and it fails, you're kind of done. And that's, you know, that's why builds are super important in this way. Is it better to be a hybrid, or is it better to be like a full thing? And I'm usually more of a hybrid kind of thing when it comes to healing. So it would either be, you know, the scholar, or it would be the sage. I feel like buffs and heals from like the astrologer. Once again, buffs, I think we would prefer like individual buffs, or maybe we would have a support character who would go buffs wise. So I wouldn't want like this character to do that. Instead, I would go barriers and heals from the sage. So shields and heals sound great, but barriers and heals sound better, because barriers usually are a little bit more tanky than standard shields, and also the reason why they take a little bit more, or need a little bit more of a setup like that, is straight up because you know, people need to play around them a little bit better. And so if skill isn't a factor in this, and let's say everybody's the same skill, then barriers would be better. But if you're dealing with a bunch of donkeys, or if you're dealing with a bunch of people who don't necessarily know what they're doing and stuff, shields and heals would be better in that setup. So we're locking it in. We're going for the sage. It's also a pretty cool name as well. So then we have Chost. Finish capture T-50 with additional front hull armor when currently resides next to the only remaining KVE in a Finnish museum. I'm guessing they've been to that Finnish museum, because I've seen a bunch of general stuff from that museum as well. So it would be really nice to see that thing. The problem with stuff like that, when you get to, it's like that. What's that ridiculous Panzer II, by the way? No, I think it's the same webcam. Never mind. I screwed with the lighting, so it's a little bit better now. What's that Panzer II that just has a ridiculous amount of armor on it, like 80 to 100 millimeters? Like, do you know which one that I mean? Like, it's just absolutely nuts in the amount of armor that it has. Stuff like that would be really hard to balance in the game, and I feel like something like a T-50 with additional armor would also be, because there is a point where the gun becomes not very useful, right? Like the 45mm is pretty decent. Like, you can even take it up into like higher echelons and it's not too bad, but it's not like the cream of the crop. And so a vehicle like that might struggle a little bit to actually like be balanced in the game. But I think overall it would still be fine to have. Yeah, the Panzer J, yeah, that one. That one, which is absolutely ridiculous as a vehicle. I think I would prefer to see stuff like the KV in the Finnish tree, so we could just finally get it up to BR. I think that would actually be much better. But I'm down for all the unique stuff that Finland has, just to give the tech tree something a little bit more zhuzhy, a little bit more pizzazzy, and a little bit more fun at the end of the day. Then we have Shadow Dweller. Let's just shoot this guy down. Just relaxing in the aisle 10 again. There we go. The timer on the new spawn in has changed tactics. Light tanks and AA now have a big you can't touch me time running around. Did they change that? I thought they kept it the same, but I thought they kept it the same, but the thing that they changed was the thing that they changed was the other thing, like that you can see when you get shot, or like spawn count. No, actually, no, they changed it slightly, didn't they? Like, they changed it a little bit. I don't think it probably had a huge impact, though. Happy Sunday, Captain Moroni. Nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. But yeah, I think overall I'm fine with the changes. They're all okay. But I would rather have the change that they have now instead of what it was before. I think before it was pretty rough. Hey again, chat. Nice to see you. Love the videos. Keep up the work. Question. I play on Xbox Series X with mouse and keyboard, and I always get excited for GE sales, pack sales, all this stuff. But then 9 out of 10, Xbox never has them. For example, a couple months ago, there was supposed to be pack sales and PlayStation and PC got the sale, but literally all Xbox got was a 50% A10A pack in the Xbox store, and I checked all over Gadget and the Xbox store for more, and there was literally at Skullface. Why does this happen? It's very disappointing, and it makes it to where Xbox only gets like 2 sales a year. Because when dealing with a third party, sometimes it can be hard to do. And when it comes to the consoles, Gaijin has to deal with a third party. Third party either being Microsoft, Sony, or even Nintendo, if they decide to go on the Switch, would be a nightmare of a company to deal with. Basically, you don't have full control of the marketplace that they put stuff up on. So therefore, the sales have to go through multiple pairs of hands at the same time. Also, there might be different statistics based around what they sell in different platforms. Therefore, if there's something which is mainly focused on from an Xbox point of view, or maybe they want to target them in different ways, such as, you know, the different consoles that they're on, or the different times of year, or when even certain promotions happen on consoles or on PC, they're going to target them in different areas, right? Like they always do. So pretty much it's the third party thing. If you, let's say you have a business, bang, you sell cakes, right? You're a caker. You're a big old bakery, you know, your Mama Jane's Bussy Bakery, right? Or something like that. And you have suppliers, and you are great at making cakes. You make them super quickly. Everybody loves the cakes. Fantastic. Ooh, cake there, cake there. Ooh, strawberry. Ooh, raspberry. Ooh, chocolate. Wow. But then your flour guy just turns up and goes, sorry, turns out I've just been arrested for doing heroin. And that basically means that I got to go to jail now, so no more flour for you. And that is something which is completely out of your control, right? Like, that is something which has happened, and you just have to deal with it. Well, when it comes to the consoles, you're involving these third-party people, and sometimes things go wrong, or sometimes they have different plans, or, you know, they have, like, the final say on whether you do stuff or whether you don't. And that can cripple company decisions, and why, you know, interconnectivity of these companies and good relationships makes a big difference to the things that are created, right? A996997991. So that's pretty much why, you know, it's just that. There's more than one hand on the trigger, and, you know, sometimes the hands don't agree. All right. Yeah, what kind of flour is it? Yeah. Turns out Bussy Bakery is selling more than hotcakes. Turns out it's also selling rocks. All right. So then we have Pyan Docty. Let's see what Pyan Docty wants to say. All right, there we go. Love the videos, Tech. They make amazing podcasts and bring people up on various topics. Keep at it. Now, with that, let me see for a moment. Let him cook, I think is what I'm supposed to say to that, if I remember correctly. I actually despise Cass. I cannot stand it with any... Oh, here we go. This is going to be a big breath one. Sorry, just let me... just let me kill these guys first, or get killed. Or I can just miss every shot. Jesus Christ. Right. I actually despise CAS. I cannot stand it in any vehicle, but eventually open top vehicles, because all it takes is for that monkey to hold down M1 on you and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm sure some pretentious kid will say, Cope, see, didn't ask, don't care, but dog, I'm fucking sick of CAS. It's 95% of the reason I don't like playing tanks. You always say we can't limit player choice, which is fair, but why couldn't there be a game mode separate without CAS? The Atomic Heart event was a lot of fun, not because of the cool event vehicles, but because of practically no CAS, save the few helis a match that were almost never a threat. I have played... Right, okay, sorry. Let's just start the game. Hey, Ball Executioner, nice to see you. I played a cast in the Grand Abbey, but with the express purpose of spawn camping the ever-living shit out of their casts, so my team can enjoy a match, but I don't like doing so because that is outstanding way of getting the complain button on your profile smashed into oblivion. I utterly detest airfield camping and cannot stand the shit in the slightest. Get rid of airfield AA. Sure, spawn camping would increase probably, but in my opinion, if you have to land before everyone else, or you're attempting to land while half your team is going apeshit, for you that is your problem. Most matches I don't need to land, but if I do need to, I land at an opportune time, not when the enemy is going seagull mode on me. I'm so tired of it being either 1v10 or a 1v1, and that Neanderthal refuses to leave the safety of their airfield. It's infuriating seeing people dictate their playstyle solely on the fact that there is a safe haven only a couple kilometers away. I've had matches where it's 1v1. I give that person the advantage. I give them room to make a choice, and they still refuse to leave their airfield. I could reverse a guy almost 26 kilometers away from the airfield, and they will immediately run it to the instant I have any advantage. It's an absolute waste of time. That includes top tier, where at least, in my opinion, AA is already not to best defense. Right, so 2 points. The first one, about Casping and Ground Abbey, the reason why you don't want to add more game modes to a game, which already has more game modes than pretty other game out there, is what you do is you split the player base. What would be better is if they did general events around these things. And they could do like weekend events, and then people can talk about how good they are, and then they could actually have a look and see how many people are actually enjoying them instead of not playing them, and then they can kind of go from there. That's the way that you approach these things. It's how they did Era BEC, and it's how they worked out that not enough people actually cared about it. So this is one of those things, once again, which I want to happen so I stop hearing about it. So it would be nice if they could do events on a weekly basis for, like, let's say 6 months, see how many people are actually interested in it, and then move from there, right? Simple as. The next part about people running for their airfield, yeah, it sucks. It's not very fun, but once you see somebody running for their airfield, one of the things that you can do is either reset, so, move to a different place, or you could go ground pound. By the time that they have realized what you're doing, you can set yourself up in a better position and then beat them again, or you can just bleed them of tickets and win that way. So there are multiple ways that you can go after this. Understand that the game is not always going to be in your favor when it comes to mechanics, so just like the spawn camping issue, sometimes as an individual, instead of screaming at the clouds, it is good to just sit down, take a deep breath, and work out how you can affect it in a positive way. And one of the positive ways of doing it, if somebody just decides to disappear and stay away from the battlefield, is to actually use the battlefield to your advantage. There are plenty of light targets to hit. There's plenty of AIs to hit nowadays. They've given everybody all the tools that they can to carry the battle without killing players, because in certain situations you're not able to. Use them. Use them against the enemy team and win through that. You don't always have to win through just outmuscling the other enemy team. Sometimes you can win through tactics, which is why the good old thing at the top of the screen is pretty important, especially on maps like this that I'm on right now, where the ticket counter just disappears super quickly. Meaning that if you end up not focusing on the ground targets and just go for the fighter, you basically have 5 minutes in order to be able to affect the game and then go from there. Atomic Thunder was not just helicopters, and when it comes to CAS is close air support. You know what they also brought in? The laser cellars and the repair cellars, which are also areas of CAS. The repair cellars, after the changes that they made to them, were some of the broken things in the game. You could just spawn camp with them instantly. Once a person spawned in, they could instantly die. There were matches where I had 15 kills with the repair cellar, basically just wandering around, not doing anything apart from moving that mouth about 2 meters one way or another. And this basically meant that you couldn't do anything against the enemy. You could lock down a whole spawn just with one vehicle. So the idea that that mode was any better than any other because it had less CAS, if anything it had more CAS, because of the cellars and because of the helicopters. The helicopters were fine. They were just rockets, and that was easy to deal with. But those cellars, especially after the changes, were busted. Nice to see a salami sandwich. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully everything's good. You got your second nuke? Well done, man. Good stuff. Well done. Oh, lungs are heavy. So we have P Mustang. I forgot to put this in the last time, but what do you think about removing the tracks on tanks of the BT5 and BT42? I think that it needs to be added in some way, and before I forgot I did memorize the outro again. Afternoon, Sergeant Rock. So what I'd say, Mustang, is I think it would be important to have a system like the VF Dub, right? The good old VFW, where you can have a modification that either brings up the sides or puts them down. So with the tracks, you could have a modification for those types of vehicles, which is, on track, off track. And then you could even have different modifications which attach to it. So for me, that's what I would do. That's at least what I would think of doing, just because it's a mechanic that already exists, and also I'm sure the vehicles and the traction works in specific ways with that. That seems like it would be good. What's the drill thing? The repair cellar. It was able to use some crazy thing. But yeah, as long as it's not done in the battle itself, as long as it's pre-battle, I think it will be fine. So we have Maxwell HW. I'm recently trying to spade tanks like the ISU 122s. Yes, I'm a masochist and others like it. Oh. Right. Let's just do that. The problem I see to be running into is that I'll take said vehicle out first and die without doing too much, and then spawn with another tank and do quite well, even if the second vehicle is worse than the first one. Also, I bounced the 122 shot from the IS-2 from about 600 meters with a JPZ-45. Legit thought of letting the guy kill me to make up for him. Yeah, different vehicles have odd angles on things. And yeah, sometimes... So when it comes to the first spawn, sometimes you just get screwed on the first spawn, right? Sometimes you turn up and, there's somebody in the place you want to look after, especially if you're in a tank destroyer. Or a non-turreted tank destroyer. Sometimes you just get hammered in the place that you go to, right? So what that basically means is it's pretty rough. It just hurts because you can't do much about it. And then when you spawn again and you go to a different area or even the same area because the battle has changed so much, now you've improved, right? Now you're in a positive position and you can go forward with it. And it can just be down to the maps and how they all play. It's so weird when it happens. It's just so odd. Alright, so then we have Sam Hurtlocker. Let's just do this. What if as a reward after you spaded a vehicle, 50% of your research that would have gone to modifications are reapplied to vehicle research as a reward? Hey Jackie, nice to see you. Oh, it's all good, Jackie. I mean, you'll be back eventually, right? That's the main thing. I mean, there already is bonuses for spading vehicles, so you'd have to work out whether that is enough for, if that is enough or that is not enough when it comes to generally grinding out the vehicles. For me, I think it is already, but I mean, obviously more would be better, but I feel like that doesn't really need changing. You already get some quite nice RP bonuses for completing rows and modifications. 50% would be kind of nuts. I think about if you spade a 380k vehicle, that's probably 300 to maybe 500k RP. Just bang right there. Might be a bit too much. So then we have Ulfhed Tierson once again. I'd say seeing how much of a heli spawn camping issues are from other helicopters, so why not just make the anti-air like indestructible underground pop-out SAMs annihilate helicopters that have over 1 to 2 kilometers of airspace around the pad, and the normal gun AAA can shoot at planes as they do. Or even take a lesson from heli PvE, nobody is getting close to those bases with the AA active, just make them only shoot at helicopters. I mean, you could, but also, like, there's a simple solution to this. And right. The thing that has kind of aggravated me over the years, and this is not just a War Thunder thing, it is a societal thing, but we won't go into the societal side of things, we'll just talk about the War Thunder side of things. Personal responsibility and your own actions when it comes to what you do in the battle or what you do wherever amount to things happening, right? That's just how it goes. And I feel like instead of people playing in specific ways to counter issues that they see in the game, or trying different things, trying different setups to try and counter what they see before them, instead the idea is just to complain about said thing until Gaijin puts in what would be classed as a fix, but doesn't actually fix the thing. So, for example, the spawn camping thing. The thing that they've put in, like it puts like a broken shield on, that's just shut up all of the people who complain about spawn camping. But if you actually think about it from a gameplay point of view, it doesn't solve the issue at all. If anything, it just means you're being placated to, and they don't think the issue needs to be solved. But they believe that you'll shut up if they just put this in. And the sad thing is, they're right. So, when I think about stuff such as the helicopter on helicopter violence, when it comes to War Thunder, if you look at it from a personal responsibility issue, instead of, hey, Daddy Gaijin, fix this for me, it's super easy to fix. You spawn in a heli, you hold C, or hold the camera, and you look around. And if you see anything, then there's a heli there, isn't there? And then if there ain't a heli there, then there ain't a heli there, is there? You could even turn off your engine, because you have that little area of invulnerability. You could turn off your engine if you want to hear for it. But no, instead, what we need to do is we need to build into the game underground SAM sites to pop up only for helicopters to nuke them. Instead of somebody using their eyes and looking around. And then if there are certain maps which seem to promote the heli spawn camping more than others, you can just move the helipad. So it's in a more open area, so people can see better. And therefore you can have a one-on-one fight. Because the moment a helicopter is airborne, it is fully operational in War Thunder. So, these issues, these very, very minor issues, are solved by slight changes in playstyle and slight adaptation. So let's just do that. Maybe let's try that for a start, instead of having to change how game mechanics work in the game. Maybe that's the way forward. The issue with certain mechanics and how they work is if you are trying to do all of the things to counter it and the counters don't work. That's when it becomes a problem. Not before we've even thought about the counters. So then we have O&W to Charlene. It's 3 AM in Poland right now, and I have absolutely nothing else to do. Here we go. I mean, fair enough. Makes it easy, doesn't it? Turn up, bang-a-rang. You know, have a bit of fun. It's quite enjoyable to just kind of chill. I personally think stuff like this is probably best for like when you go to work, or if you go to when you're like on like the way to school or working out or something. Just like chill times, you know. That to me would be when I'd listen to something like this. That's when I listen to like podcasts and stuff like that. Alright, let's see. So we have C-76 Caravan. Boo doo 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 doo. He says, well, if we do sub-trees, then we don't need to have nations in the game anymore. What? If the argument against independent tech trees is that it's too difficult for just having a flag, then we can put the complete nation tech trees overall into question. Plus, it's not necessarily nationalism. It's also to have the progression from the nation through their military technological history. And as yourself said, the history behind vehicles is something that is great about War Thunder. Sure, so let's see the nations that people talk about and want to put in the game. Czechoslovakia doesn't exist anymore. Then we have Korea, also doesn't exist as a like setup. And what was the other one again? That every like these weird like united random area tech trees, which if you go back like 20 years, do not have the same relationships as they do now. So this idea of like historical progression doesn't work, because then you have to oh yeah, Yugoslavia as well. You have to completely forget about the 80s and 90s existing. Now, it isn't just the fact that it is too difficult for them, right? The argument against any more independent tech trees is there are too many vehicles or too many copied vehicles already in the game for people to be interested in playing something that is already there, which is just a copy of what you've seen before in 80 or 90% of the cases. Israel was the great test for this, because pretty much all their tech tree are slightly modified, different vehicles, right? Slightly different and interesting. You never see Israel in games. You see one person every so often, at best. And it isn't because they're not promoted. It isn't because they don't have good lineups, because Israel actually does have some pretty damn good lineups right now. It is because people don't want to play the same stuff over and over again. Okay? So, what you have to... It's not that it's difficult to put in a nation flag or an independent nation. They've already put in 10. You know, the formula's there. It's the simple fact that if you don't put it in, or sorry, if you do put it in, are enough people going to be interested? And the answer is no. Because we already have 6 or 7 nations in the game that people aren't interested in. The other thing, on top of it, is lineups. As I keep saying over and over again, you can take all of the ideas that you have from here and just put it in a tech tree that already exists. And then just change the name of the tech tree if you're really that bothered about it. As a War Thunder player as well, in general, the main thing you should be wanting is an easier progression setup. And the way that you actually do make an easier progression setup is removing nations from like their actual tech trees. You would want them all in a big clump, right? Which is basically how matchmaking works now, right? So yeah. If the opposite to adding in more independent tech trees, instead of, you know, sub tech trees so they have full lineups so people have a bit of fun with them and actually play them, if the opposite is, okay, we don't do any of that, but instead what we do is we just like remove all of the nations that exist now and just put everything into a clump, sure, why not? It would actually be better. So we have Sam Hurtlocker. I disagree with the notion that those are the only people that like large maps. Just like on COD, I prefer ground war large maps. Hate all the shipment style ones. around 5.7. I love the big maps. It's just my preference. No one has a lie there, but I'm so tired of this. I don't want to suck, though, the grind like everyone else has. We've all had to do it at one point. The guy you're facing that has something you don't. Was at the same point you were at some point. Thank you, like the vids. That's true, but when it's over and over and over and over again, and people have to deal with it over and over and over and over again, and they have to do it for 50 to 100 to 200 battles, they don't want to do it. That's the thing. I'm sure people randomly do like large maps at mid-tiers. I'm sure they do. But the good thing is that we have the map rotation filter, right? And Gaijin over the last few months have just literally used the data from the previous years from the map rotation filter to make the maps that the vast majority of people enjoyed at certain BRs appear at certain BRs. So therefore they can get even more definitive, like, you know, interests in what people like when it comes to maps. That's all they've done. They've taken the statistics that they've gained through the map rotation filter, which was a full system, which had everybody involved in it, right? And all maps were available to everybody at every BR. And what they've done is they've taken those stats and now they've just refined it. So it's not that they're discriminating against people who like certain things. It's just the simple fact that in a game like this, what wins is the majority, right? Which is why you see the USSR and why you see Germany and America pandered to as much as they are, because those are the nations that people play the most. It's the same with maps. It's the same with everything. You know, they just go for what's the highest average and then move from there. We can discuss, is that a good idea or not? My answer is no. I don't think it should just be based off of that. You need to, because if you do that, then you don't open it up. You don't open up the system to new ideas or new players. Instead, you just have, like, you just create the same things over and over and over again, which gets super boring. So you need an element of a difference, or just an element of variety, which gives you, you know, some different ways of looking at stuff, so then you can see if that's actually the spark that people want going forward. But I'm sure, you know, they've probably thought of that as well, instead of just me here, right? And if they haven't, then hopefully they will in the future. So we have Like You Could G. With Oceanic servers, a report found that over 20 million Australians are now playing video games at a 4.2 million increase from last year. I feel new servers for Australia are coming. You can feel whatever you want. There's 500 million accounts on War Thunder. So 20 million isn't actually a lot, especially since that's just people logging into games. Let's see. So, do you want me to put this on the screen, or are you guys okay with me just saying these things? I could put links in the chat if you want. So, top Google search. How many people play video games in the world? According to the latest data, there are approximately 3.09 billion active video gamers worldwide. That figure has risen over 1 billion in just 7 years. That's a 32% increase. And the number of gamers is expected to hit 3.32 billion in 2024. Okay. There's a video here, we can have a look. So 20 million, like as a percentage of the Australian population. What is the Australian population again? 25.69 million. That's a hell of a fucking high percentage. If the standard one is about 50 million, is about 50%, that's ridiculously high. But it's still only 20 million people. So the issue is, it's the fact that if you set up a server there, it doesn't really benefit anybody else apart from that set of 20 million people, which aren't all playing War Thunder. Most are playing mobile games. And then if you, on top of that, add everything else that's going on, it doesn't affect any other region. Which population has more, Greece or Sweden? Depends on if you count the immigration or not. Kept shooting behind him. There we go. There's still not enough, sorry. You need to, like that's still less than Canada. Like, when it comes to overall population. Just, as I said, just breed more. Just do it. Or just play on SCA and work out why people don't. So we have like Yikuji again. I feel with IFVs, remove scouting, give them SPGs, then add deployable Goliath robots to remote repair. Maybe add IED bots for something funny to kill someone with. People don't like dying to random shit that they can't see. AKA drones. Alright, next one. What was the reason? Oh, this is from iMom. What's the reason for the launcher deploying mechanic on some 80 gems? It just seems like a pointless nerf, made worse because those vehicles were hit hardest with the 80 gem changes. I mean, I honestly think it's because some 80 gems have launchers. You know, like the Bradleys, the M901, the Sturm S. You know, it's just because they wanted to realistically model the launchers when they move around. I honestly don't think it's anything malicious or you know, trying to make them worse or whatever. It's just part of what they are. Like, at the end of the day, maybe there was something malicious into it, but I doubt it. I just think it was. I think it was they just wanted to make it look cooler and make it more realistic, like the same reason they did the 80 gem changes in the first place. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think they would have put it in just to like cripple certain nations, right? There's no need for that. Like, instead, they would just do it because, you know, it's the realistic thing to do. Alright, then we have Joe Pence. Hey Tech, I just want to say I'm really enjoying the War Thunder mobile naval. I think it's better than naval on the PC version. I like the concept of the 5v5 in a match, no caps, no coastal vehicles, no respawns. I think its structure works well. Do you think the naval type would come to PC version? A 5v5 would mean only 10 people need to queue, and this would cut down queue times. I mean, maybe an arcade, but at the same time, if you, the thing I've always enjoyed about War Thunder, just as a general thing, is the game to me feels like there's like a war going on and you're like a part of it. So it isn't that you're like the main focus, you're a piece in the cog, and if you do your piece properly in the cog, then the clock functions. So there isn't, like, obviously you can carry the games and, you know, you could do all those stuff, but for me, I think it's important to have that like setup, you know, like the AI in the game and all these things are part of it. You know, they're not just, it isn't just a game where it's just a straight PvP. I'm gonna hide behind this hill, you're gonna hide behind this hill, and we're gonna have a shoot off, right? Which is what mobile is at the end of the day. I think if you wanted the games to be as quick as possible, that's what you would do. But I personally wouldn't enjoy it. I kind of like having, especially in Naval, I like having a lot of people involved. I like seeing like a ton of like people on the enemy team, ton of people on my team, just a ton of stuff going around, and you can't really do that if there's only 5 people. The submarine mechanic is absolutely trash, and I hope it never comes to the game. It's not very fun to just get torpedoed from targets you can't see or properly defend against. The ground in the mobile is in a rough place. Some vehicles you have to hit in a very small and specific places, which is incredibly hard to do on a touchscreen. I agree. Yeah, the ground one is pretty tough for me as well, but I'm also a boomer. And yeah, I think the great thing about War Thunder Mobile is hopefully it will teach people why submarines in the proper game are going to be rough to balance. You know, whether it's like positive or whether it's negative, so on and so forth, right? Like, it's no fun. And then, anyways, I'd love to hear your opinion on this and the game in general. Also, I'd like to know if you got the promo ship on M4. Would be interesting to see you spade on stream if you haven't already. Anyways, good health to you as always, and long live Big Lee. Good old Big Lee. We need to check on Big Lee, actually. See what Big Lee's up to. One of the best content creators out there, by the way. It's Big Lee. He's fantastic. He's actually the son of Kay's Cooking, which is just a fantastic individual, if you didn't know. Wonderful time. It's Big Lee. Ready to go. Alright. But yeah, I think War Thunder Mobile is fine. Like, the fact it runs on my iPhone 7 is just nuts. I did get the M4, but I requested it because I wouldn't have time to get the the first places, but I did research the Hatsuki or whatever it's called. My thoughts are the M4 is good. Sucks it's rank 2, but they're bringing all those ones to rank 2. And then the Hatsukutsi or whatever it's called. It's really good for getting score. And really good for doing damage, but not killing anything. So it's really good if you want to rack up the points, but actually getting kills with it and winning battles it's not very easy to do with the HE changes. So the game itself, I think it's in a good position, especially in an open beta, and also at the same time, I think it feels nice to play. It's not my cup of tea, but it's a mobile game. It's never gonna be. I think overall it's not too bad. I'll be back in just 2 seconds. I just have to sort something out, okay? Okay, I'm back, sorry. Just had to quickly sort out something. But it's all good now? All done. It's too easy to pronounce this ship. Why almost no one can say it. It's Hat and then Suzuki. It's not that I can't... I can pronounce it, I just don't remember the name. Like, that's the thing. It just doesn't stick in my head. Like, that... It's not a tough name to say. It's just I just don't remember it. You know. I'm doing well, Kakias. Hopefully you're doing well too, man. Hopefully life's good. And you are feeling good. But yeah, the promo that they've done is really nice. The fact that they're adding in that you can, you know, obviously get the daily login at the same time as the daily login at the same time on the mobile one, and the standard one is really cool. I think that's really awesome. And then also at the same time, like the gameplay seems fine for a mobile game. Like, I don't think I'd enjoy playing it on PC. It has the same problem as it has the same problem as a lot of those games. If they make it too technical, then there's just going to be people who metagame it and, like, you know, obviously play it on PC, or they end up like using controllers, or, you know, using like mouse and keyboards on a bloody tablet. But yeah, you can't really work around that, unfortunately. People are always going to do that, just like they do in Standard War Thunder, you know. Alright, let's just shoot this guy. So then we have Bam Bam. So let's see what Bam Bam's saying today. The equipment that would be on the M551 and Bradley's nets are on the tank already, at least to my understanding of War Thunder. They're in-game, the black tube on both vehicles. I may be wrong, but I do think those are the add-ons you're speaking about. Only thing is they're not deployed. And when do you stream these videos? I'd love to catch one live. Well, usually Sunday mornings PST. Is basically it. But nice to see you, Tommy. Hopefully you're doing good. Nice to see you too, Polska. But yeah, we Sunday mornings PST. So basically like 12 hours before you see these on the channel. Also, would like game mode like Breakthrough from the Battlefield series, kind of like Air Naval EC but with ground. Yeah, sure. I mean, why not? Why not give it a go, right? Like, hopefully someone can at some point build it on the War Thunder CDK, and then we can make it a little bit easier to do, and see what the idea is like, and if it works, and if people are interested in it, and then we can kind of go from there. Always down for ideas like that. So I'll find the thing. I'll find the kit. Because it's the same with the M113. Not Sherman. There is a picture on Wikipedia somewhere, if I remember, of the Sheridan fjording. There we go, right. So let's go to this one and this one. Okay, so this is the kit that it needs, and it's very similar on the Bradley. So it isn't just like it doesn't just need the periscope to be able to, for every, you know, for air and, you know, or to chuck out water and stuff. It needs a literal, like, kind of cage around it to be able to ford stuff. So that's why it doesn't have it. Like, if you want to have a look at the Bradley once again, it has a similar setup, right? So it has stuff like this. See, like this. So you need like a whole net, and you need like a whole setup for it. Otherwise it just doesn't work. And obviously that isn't in game. So I think that's the reason why they haven't stuck it in. It's basically because of that. They could obviously make it amphibious if they wanted, just like they have a bunch of other vehicles, but yeah. It's the final day, end of days. Hey, Alakazambish, nice to see you. It's the final day for grinding out the event, so we're just taking it easy. I'm massively behind, so I'm going to be playing until like midnight or something. Like, just trying to get everything done. But, c'est la vie, what you going to do? Nice to see you once again, Rusty Sniper. Hopefully you're doing good. Alright, let's get this thing down. We've made good progress on the air. Probably would have been quicker with something else, but this is the easiest thing to play, and for me to turn off my brain to focus on the questions. I have no idea what we're going to do for ground, so we'll see. There we go. So the next one is Dumalok. 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 Dum da 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 dum da 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 dum da 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 dum dum dum. I would love to play the SKR-7 and go to hell. It looks fun, but I don't know where to start when it comes to the squadron thing. So basically, in War Thunder, you have squadrons, right? Now, squadrons have access to what is classed as Squadron RP. So every 3 days, if you personally get 75,000 RP, just overall RP, in 3 days, and the majority of your squadron members also get that, then you get 20,000 squadron RP that you can invest in a squadron vehicle. So, for example, if you want the SKR-7, you would click to research the SKR-7, and then every 3 days, if you're in an active squadron which meets the criteria that I just said, then you would get 20,000 every 3 days towards that vehicle. That's pretty much how it works, just as a general system. So if you're not getting the squadron RP, then you need to be in a squadron to obviously get the RP, which means you need to be in a more active squadron with more members. I've been getting 20k RP for years, basically. So, yeah. Not too bad overall. That's pretty much how it works. There's a War Thunder wiki article on it. I've done, like, videos on it. I'll do another one. I'll do a War Thunder tips on Squadron RP. That might be an idea. I'll write that down. Let's see. Squadron RP. How to. Hey, ZXW, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good today. Let's close that. And then we have RP Scorp. Ha! I stand by what I said about the two S-38s in comparison to other IFEs. The only one that comes close is the BMP-2M, and only because it can fire 80 gems, good ones, while moving. The two S-38 has 225 pen, 0.95 kilo, blah 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 blah. Tracking radar, amphibious, can scout, large, dead spaces in it, so you can survive APFS, DS hits, proxy, Gen 3 thermals. There's much nothing it can do. The Puma at its current BR, and with the current maps being locked off, red zoned, is a total waste of space. Its gun barely pens more than 30, IRST interrupter doesn't work and has never worked. Fair enough, just don't play it then. You know, like there's over 2,000 vehicles in the game. If you feel like there is a bad matchup and you don't want to play a vehicle, don't play it. Just go play something else. Not every vehicle can be the best vehicle at its BR. You know? Maybe the Puma isn't the best. Instead, it's the second best. Are you okay with that? Or do you need everything that you play to be the best? Maybe it's better at different things. Maybe the lineup's different. You know? Maybe there's other ways of looking at things. Who knows? This is the IL-10 1946. It's pretty good at relaxing and shooting things. But yeah. I don't really believe that people are going to change their opinions based on what I say. Usually most people ask things or go through things because they want the stuff that they say to be confirmed. So, like, the idea of, like, these things shifting opinions or moving people onto other things would be kind of surprising, especially when it comes to vehicle balance, because, like, people just get narratives stuck in their heads. And thank God, like, when it comes to vehicle balance, we don't have a situation where individuals get to just balance vehicles, because otherwise the game would be in an incredibly sorry state. So it's just how it is. Alright. So then we have Kyle Marion. I think we will see this Romanian subtree for Italy or any subtree for Italy to give them life. Yeah, we will. They already confirmed it. Well, I don't think they confirmed a subtree for Italy, but they confirmed that they were working on Hungarian vehicles. After basically teasing everybody for 2 years that they were working on Hungarian vehicles, BVD literally came out earlier this year and said they were working on Hungarian vehicles. So, you know, because, hey, guess what? They were working on Hungarian vehicles. So, yeah. And probably Romanian too. They did say they were going to add more trees or more nations to the game. Hopefully it's in sub-tree form. Who knows? My chair's super squeaky today, so I apologize. So we have like Ikuji again. So this is the third. Right, okay. I'm just going to skip your comments because I'm seeing there's like a million of them. So if you're going to, like, we're not doing this. We already said if you're going to, we're doing like 1 or 2 points per post. If you want all of the points looked at, put them all in the same place. I'm not interested in going through a million different random things while people watch videos, because I've seen that some people do that. Like, what they do is they'll watch a video, then they'll post a comment about one part, and then they'll get to another part of the video, and then they'll post a comment on that, and then, yeah, it just goes around. And it's fine that people do it. If anything, like, generally it's nice to see people get involved, but if I'm doing these types of videos, I can't be doing that. So, just how it is. Hey, Club, nice to see you. I mean, you can describe it, like, you know. So then we have Mr. Harness. Hey, Tech, got the KV220 from the event. Is it still in the meta, or has its time already passed? It's still powerful, if that's what you mean. Like, it still does well. It's still a positive vehicle. It works good. Like, it's not a bad vehicle at the end of the day. Like, it works fine. It's got a huge weak spot, but most people don't know about it, and you can cover it with bushes. How do you get a KV220? Could have been out of a box, either the ice cream boxes or just from the standard boxes, you know. But yeah, it's still good. It's for 5.7, works really well. Just give it a go and see what happens. You'll either enjoy it or you won't enjoy it, so might as well give it a go. But it's still good. So we have Unique Scorpions, also TEC, the MiG-15s from like 1947. I mean, that brings up an interesting point that Rockers talked about in the past. One of the issues that War Thunder has is the fact that the jet age accelerated at a ridiculous speed. Like, if you have a look at the technology that was around in 1943 and you compare it to what was around in 1953, especially when you have a look at like America, or if you have a look at USSR or even Britain, like obviously Britain had a few issues when it came to its doldrum eras, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I don't know how a game can like represent that, or how a game can kind of show that happening without having these like unbalanced areas. I suppose the way is you just keep adding vehicles until it fills it out, right? Which is probably what they do. Oh, that's kind of cool, get cloaked. That's kind of fun. I wonder if you could do that with the Fred shit too. I donked a bunch of helis with that thing, but nah, that sounds awesome. We should give that a go. And Gench says, thanks for answering the questions anytime. Always fantastic to read and also go through. So we have emergency broadcast system. No question this time, says a video about the invention of the walleye. Also, can't wait for the walleye 2 to get added and break the game. Yeah, we'll have to see what goes on, right? Like there's There's a lot of stuff that they can add to the game that I thought would break it and then did break it, and they just keep adding stuff over and over again. And I'm sure this is just another one that can kind of do some crazy stuff. Nice to see though, you know. Nice to. I'll have a look at the video afterwards, just because of copyright stuff and everything like that. And we have Bruce Quabble. I think you just invented a new word. Nah, Quabble's definitely a word. At least from my area. I've got in trouble in the past, so originally I'm from Yorkshire, right? And Yorkshire people, along with many different areas in the UK, talk very differently, even if you compare like East Yorkshire to West Yorkshire. And everybody has like their own slang and everybody says like different stuff. So words that I've used in the past, like I used to do it a lot more, especially on like the YouTube channel. I'd use words which I am used to using because of the fact that, you know, if I'm talking to somebody, that's how I talk. But nowadays I use what would be classed more as like standard English, I suppose, which is more friendly to people who are not full native English speakers, or, well, Canadians or Americans or, you know, anybody like that. So it's definitely, you know, during these types of streams or during like Twitch, I speak more normally is probably the way I would put it. Like, I speak more naturally compared to what I usually do. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Liverpool? Nah, definitely not from Liverpool. Definitely not a Scouser. So we have Papa Stalin. It was such a sad thing that I missed this, but I fixed it now. As for my question, when will the Freemanist plague be eradicated? I don't think it will, unfortunately. It's like a bad smell. You can clean it and clean it and clean it, but eventually it'll come back. Freeman's ideology and Freeman's beliefs will always be there and will be a constant fight to go against. The confidence that is exuded in the ideals of it and also the people who are involved in it is always going to be hard to conquer at the best of times. But that does also mean that we always have a common enemy. We always have something to push towards. We always have something to attack, eradicate, go after, and, you know, convert the masses. So that ain't too bad. Dorset? Nah. Best sea names in UK, Birmingham, or what it's called, Kingdom upon the Hill, Kingston upon Hull. There's a village near where I'm from called the Land of Nod, or Land of Nod. It's fantastic. And we have Jerry again, so this is the third time. Favorite tank in War Thunder? T92. Very versatile. And we have Paulie LDP. Gadget has done a lot of freedom of speech silencing on the forums and ignoring player community requests and bug reports. At this point, there are two things they need to do if they ever want any of my money again, and one extra thing they could do to make me really like them again and be eager to spend money. Need to fix the TAR 154 auto trim settings above 500 kilometers an hour IAS for non-mouse aim pilots. It's a very specific thing. Oh, I think we have... Hey, there you go. We got another marker distinction. Nice. Let's just see if I can change this to something else. And then give consoles a market. I don't accept it's not Gadget's fault. There would be something they could do to give console players access to the content PC has. How to win me over. Add Australia and New Zealand tech trees to Great Britain. I mean, fair enough. It's... I mean, the Gadget fault thing... Fuck me. The Gadget fault thing... At the end of the day, like the way that it's all set up and everything, it honestly is like that. Like I don't know how else to put it. Like it honestly is like the simple fact that they can't, they won't be able to do anything about it. Like I'm sure they'll eventually work out something to do. So hopefully that happens, and hopefully people can get what they want. But it will be when something is beneficial to all parties and it still doesn't happen. Usually that means that there is a snag somewhere, which therefore it isn't beneficial for all parties, right? That's pretty much how this goes. Yeah, Noddy was pretty fun. Make way for Noddy. Noddy! But yeah. There's no freedom of speech when it comes to War Thunder, by the way. There never was and never will be. Like, the only difference between now and the past is that they're actually a lot more lenient nowadays than they were previously. When it comes to what they allow people to say, and also the amount that their community managers say. I would generally say that if you're hoping for stuff like freedom of speech, it's never going to happen. You know, there's no online platform right now that has freedom of speech. It just doesn't happen. So, kind of sucks. I wish it was different. I wish people could say what they want. I wish overall it was you know, it was available to everybody and everybody could speak their minds all the time, and you know, no issues would arise from it. But unfortunately, when you have a military game especially, and you have people who have ridiculous ideologies, and they get caught in this idea that ideology should be mixed with history in a game, then they just start saying and doing some very silly things. Did they honestly block off this way? They just put a big rock there, did they? Fair enough. Well, looks like I'm boned. Alright. So then we have Airsoft Faction. Have you heard the tragedy of Helmet Potato the Cancerous? It's not a story veterans would tell. No. I'm sure it was a long lost brethren. And maybe at some point they can be back. Or maybe it's just a bad meme. And we have Shadow Dweller, thanks for answering. That's what we're here for. While also doing the event, having a bit of fun. Then we have Campsy, who says chicken nugget. Don't like chicken nuggets, much prefer Korean fried chicken. You ever had Korean barbecue? Ooh, boy! Beautiful. Tastes great. Super nice. Everyone should have some Korean barbecue. Definitely worthwhile. And we have user Yit. I'm 2 researching the Bravey. Last one on my Soviet Blue Water Tech tree. My first one finally completed. Nice. I kind of got stuck just playing the SKR7 to try and get the SKR1 again. But I do want to play the Bravey, just to kind of get a lock on the missiles and how they work. My main issue with the Bravey is, I mean, actually, I don't know. I should probably check, but when I look at it, one of the main issues I see is that it should unfortunately have access to end-of-the-line modification costs because it's by itself. And also, I got a feeling that they're going to add some after it, right? Like they're going to add something after it, and once they do that, then it would be better for me to wait to research it, because then, you know, it'll be cheaper to do. Well, we'll see. Alright, well that's the last question overall from the actual comments of the video. Do you guys on Twitch have any questions? Some quick fire ones while we're getting through everything, you know, so we can move around and have a bit of fun. I do need to do my ground challenge. Yours wasn't there, Bob. No, I didn't see it. Hey, Knight, nice to see you. I'm very new to War Thunder and just started to play. I love planes. I'm currently waiting in queue 7 minutes for realistic aircraft battles. Is it always like that? No, it isn't. It is like that at the lower tiers, because at the lower tiers people are usually playing arcade, because because of the fact that arcade is more designed for, you know, when people start, and then also that's, you know, where vehicles like that are the most fun. So realistic battles at the low tier for a new player, you'll be sat there for ages because there's no reason to play it. Usually mid tier and high tier, the longest your queue time will be is like a minute. But yeah, at the lower tiers I'd play arcade. Like that would be something that would be obviously better to go through. Same with like Sim, right? Can you explain your role in apartheid in good old South Africa? Unfortunately not. The 80s were a pretty fun time, but not for me. How do you evade high-tier missiles like the AIM-7F on a platform like the Su-25BM? You have to work out how to break radar lock, and usually the way to break radar lock is either going away from the lock itself or going perpendicular, depending on what mode is being fired up, or mode which has been loaded up by the person. So yeah, kind of angling away from the missile will make stuff lose lock pretty effectively, unless they have specific radar modes. Obviously chaff, but once again, there's a lot of radars in the game which don't give a toss about chaff anymore, so don't matter. You could also fly low, but people use PD radars, so it picks you up. As I said, it really depends what people are using, and it's very hard to tell right now what people are using. But yeah, so we got the air event done. We got the naval event done. Now we just got to do the ground event and finish off the 10th star. Like, it's kind of nuts when you think about it. This event, just as like lasting thoughts on the event, has been okay. There's been quite a few pretty fun things with it. You know, we spaded out a lot of vehicles, spaded out a lot of stuff, and done pretty well with it as well. It's been quite nice. I would say in general, just for the event itself, I would like it to be a little bit easier, as we talked about, but overall, not too shabby. I think this game might be a loss. There is a heli somewhere, though. Yeah, there we go. I just hide my vehicle here until somebody moves in. Right, so since we completed another star, let us do another card pack to end also the tech talk and that. So here you go. So let's see what's there. So we got Minas Tirith. There you go, good old Mini. And we have Friendly Rivalry. So this is probably a Legolas and Gimli counter of kill setup. There's Legolas. Counter of kills. Mirror of Galadriel. Nice spell. Celeborn the Wise. Nice to see him. Cirith Ungol Patrol. Chilling about the place. Then we have Nasty End. The standard card art. Poor Saruman. Lash of the Balrog. Beauty to see too. Then we have Improvised Club, which is literally an ogre holding a goblin. We have, ooh, Shiny Land. Let's go, Shiny Land. Beauty. And we have the ring. We have the shiny is the Black Breath, which is pretty disgusting. And also Elrond, Master of Healing. And then Full Art Dunland Crabane. So no Gimmers. Very sad. I hear a lot of vehicles around me though. But yeah, so that kind of gives you an idea of what we've been doing during the time. And also what we've been focused on. And as always, hopefully you enjoyed the tech talk. Hopefully you had a good time. Look after yourselves. Peace be with you. Hopefully you have a good week. And I will see you next Sunday or whenever you tend to watch this. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye.